And good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Smudcast number 744. Let's put Isekai's slavery trope on trial. So this is specifically slavery presented in Isekai, and that's a massive genre that I've been reading for several years now. It is everything from adult content to child content that has slavery in it. So it's depicted in many permutations. It's not all good, it's not all bad, and sometimes it's depicted as neutral. So there's plenty to look at. Hopefully this is a nuanced piece with lots of examples that the YouTube author used references to all kinds of manga and anime that use the slavery trope. I can't think of too many off the top of my head because it's never been an issue with readers of manga and watchers of the animes that have slavery. We just see, oh, there's a slave there, or oh, we're going to increase our party. Let's buy a slave, and they're a warrior, and everything's awesome. Cool. Like, it's such a minor thing because it's not the focus of the story. It's just a little descriptor of the world to get you up to speed with what the fantasy world is like. And that's all it's really ever been. But this person, check her name out. What's her name? Josei Cafe. That sounds like a guy. But of course it's not. We will see what she has to say. This video came out 6 months ago, has almost 30,000 views. And the channel is not even 3,000 subs. So they're getting up there with releasing some obviously manga inspired content. So there we go.
Wouldn't this just be the slavery trope in quotation marks? In general, I can't imagine that Isekai does anything different about slavery at all. Because just the thing that has been present throughout all history still exists in most of the world, except the West, which fought against it, fought to end it. So,
it depends.
Second question.
It depends, because some isekais have, like, the elves or the beastmen are being persecuted, and then the hero guy comes in and saves one or two.
Is it really slavery when it's elves?
Elves are the go-to, yeah. Yeah.
But it's elves.
Okay.
That's fine.
Elves are better with colors on anyways.
Usually the elves are the hoity-toity people, I'm better than you sort of character, but in some cases...
Exactly.
Yeah.
All elves are racist, so why is it bad to enslave them?
Hey, if you really think about it, it's moral to put elves in chains, just saying.
I guess. It's nice to see that example, because if you just follow other tropes, like elves are the superior race, they're older, they're stronger, they're wiser, blah, 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 then it's like, oh, they're doing that again. But now there's like house elves or city elves or worker elves or enslaved elves. So I don't mind.
I was fine when we always were high elves, wood elves, and dark elves.
Oh, it's D&D,
Anything
basically.
else is nonsense.
Yeah.
And you don't like your... What are they called? Apathin Deepkin from Age of Sigmar?
They're elves. Who gives a fuck? But one more question before we start. Smart, how much Isekai do you have to read before you get a Truckun license?
That trope has been subverted so many times, I don't think it's relevant anymore. Because I'm reading really fun Isekai. Like, it always starts with the guy from Japan, the guy from Korea, and then somehow he's in another world. It doesn't always involve the truck.
Yeah, like there's one that I've been reading recently called The Great Cleric, and dude is just shot in the heart on his way from work. He's just shot because dude is wrestling with the cop and fires off his gun, and the main character just gets hit by the bullet.
Yeah. They usually have a scene where he's saving a girl, or he's pushing someone out of the way, and there's a struggle, and he's not aware of it, but he got stabbed because he was so busy fighting off the other guy to stop him from chasing after the girl. And the gods are like, oh, wow, this guy's a hero in this world. Let's send him to another world to be a hero as well. So that's a little bit of 2-3 pages of setup just to make you feel like, oh, this guy's all right. He did something good in his last hour. So that's fine, as opposed to the goofy, transforming truck coon who punches you in the face. His robot arm. Whatever. As much as of a difference that might be.
And Lala wrote in the chat, Idonev Deepkin. And yes, that's just elves. But Games Workshop has decided to give everything pretentious and confusing names in order to be more likely to trademark things to sue people.
All right.
Deepkin always sounds like dwarves.
Let us get going. It is a 13-minute long video, and for 30,000 views, that's pretty good. So good for her. Anyway, let's go.
Explore some of society's most thought-provoking and philosophical questions. Do humans truly have free will? What is justice, and who has the right to enforce it? Is a utopia possible, and what would be the cost? Wouldn't it be cool if you could buy teenage cat girls to be your slaves?
My girl, if you think Code Geass is like some deep moral philosophical anime, please go outside. Touch grass.
What do you mean, lol? It taught me that the system is corrupt and mechs are really cool, and the only good part of that show.
The only thing I've learned from Code Geass is that it's morally, objectively correct to enslave the British if they're mean to you.
Well, they enslaved the world. Why not?
It also told me how to not write the main character and have him do something really, really stupid that he knew he shouldn't do in his final hour.
I could, jokingly order you to kill a bunch of people. Oh no. What have I done?
It was I was just joking. What? I didn't mean to kill a whole group of people who were worshiping everyone. Oh no.
It was amazing, but go now. Come to fuck.
Why did I use my Geass? I didn't mean to use it. It was a joke.
What's the sarcastic Geass?
Yeah, he put /s at the end of all of his.
Yeah, already I am.
To answer her rhetorical question, no utopia cannot reach. The word literally means the unplace, the impossible place, the unreachable place. Everything that ever has to do with utopia only shows us a different way of how that messes up everything and makes everything even worse. What she basically described was what good science fiction is. Exploration of philosophical ideas and playing them out.
Also, the anime she's showing, I've seen this one.
Oh, the great, How Not to Summon a Demon Lord.
Yeah, I've seen this one. It's fucking shit, but the slavery part is the least bad part of it.
Yeah.
It is so far down the list in terms of bad stuff about it.
Yeah, the manga is essentially about a guy who's an expert gamer. They're all expert gamers at the world they get sent to, and he happens to be is he the villain? Is he playing as the villain, or is he actually the villain and he's just hyping it up? I can't remember. So the slavery element is it's just
his big thing was that he was an antagonist in the game versus another player that was the hero of their story. And his whole thing was that he was hyping himself up, but in reality, he's some geeky loser. And has to play out the role of being, Satan.
Yeah, but he's always saying, I am the great evil, blah, 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 but he ends up doing good every time. He's always...
because he's a geek.
Yeah, this is always the case. In every single story I've read in Isekai, whether you play as the villain, even the one I'm currently reading, where it's called the Priest of Corruption, I think it's called. He serves a god who eats people or whatever for power, but he never indirectly hurts good people. It's always the bad guys who get the punishment. So, even playing the villain where you do objectively bad things, you're doing them for the right reason because he's a guy from modern Japan and they have morals. So therefore he's going to do the good thing. So even in the case of slavery, yes, buying a slave is better than not buying a slave. It's what you do with them. Anyway, let's continue.
It's the year of our Lord. Raccoon has claimed the lives of countless Japanese teenage boys and yeeted them into medieval fantasy worlds. Worlds filled with dazzling magic, mystical creatures, and for some reason, slavery. Slavery has become an increasingly common trope in isekai, but why is it so
Some
prevalent?
reason.
What are these shows trying to say about slavery? To figure this out, I'll
Okay, there was a good example. The harem one. I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically a guy who gets isekai'd and he buys slaves. They are slaves, and they treat him like a master. He says, no, I'm going to treat you like a person. And even the slaves are like, why are you doing this? Like, what is up with, like, why we don't eat at the same table, but you want to? You give us clothes, like you give us a hot bath. Like these are luxuries. No one has this. Why are you giving us to slaves? Of course, it's a story about fighting in a dungeon and having sex, and that's basically a slice of life. That's the whole story. But that's a good depiction of slavery. The slaves are like, wow, you're giving us all this stuff, and you're treating us with respect. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And even if it wasn't a slave system where he goes to buy people to join his party, he's still treating them better than he would if they weren't, if they were just normal adventurers. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's
As for her question as to why it's so prevalent in Isekai lives or dies on the first chapter, which is where you usually see the slavery pop up. It's either that or the next following 2 or so chapters where a slavery or a slave is introduced. Like the second episode of Shield Hero, the third episode of, I know it's not Isekai, but Radio Healer. And the first episode of How Not Summon Demon Lord, the slavery is introduced to do a quick, hey, here's a girl, she's in debt to the main character because he buys them, because they need, they start out with some the utilitarian goals or purely good goals, and the girl is in debt to it, that person, because that's not how slavery usually works in this setting. There you go. That's the setup.
Basically a standard origin story of a character.
I'd say so.
Yeah. It's very effective, it's very snappy, gives a good idea of the relationship in the group. It's like doing the Frodo and Sam relationship in 2 minutes.
Yeah, and of the isekai that I see here, the 6, only one really deals with slavery. No Game No Life kind of has slavery, but it's in the sense that, you bet away your freedom on a game. So it's the old Germanic form of slavery.
Yeah.
Man, are we including Yu-Gi-Oh in this? Because there's an episode where Yu-Gi-Oh almost becomes a sex slave in a game.
Oh God.
So did Joey.
Let's not delve too far into Yu-Gi-Oh. Anyway.
But yes, anyone who doesn't know the example, the Germanic peoples near the Limes were frequently betting their freedom in games of luck with Roman soldiers. Sometimes they would win it back. But it was basically just one of the things you would throw in order to make a quick buck. So, to answer her general question, why slavery? Because that's the normal state of human society, to have that throughout history, since time immemorial. It is the special, weird state to not have it. And we live in that time, and it's not the entire planet, it's just the Western world.
Yeah, I remember one of my Stoic philosophers, Epictetus, he was a slave. But he never wrote anything down. His students wrote all his stuff down because he was so prolific. So there's
imagine being the student of a slave.
But being this super genius who teaches you how to live your life properly, regardless of being a man or a slave or whatever. So,
yeah, exactly, because that was basically just it's a type. It's a more restrictive type of work contract, because in many societies throughout human history, there were rules about how to treat slaves, and if you mistreat them, you might lose the right to have them. They might be set free, they might be given to someone else, etc. If you couldn't care for your slaves well, you might lose them. And certainly there were societies that didn't have such nice laws about slave treatment. They also had laws about how a slave could free himself.
One of the earliest piece of writing we have from the Roman Republic is how to treat your slaves nicely and how to actually have a financially, or what's the term, a financially profitable farm with happy slaves. As the guy goes, okay, I've had a couple of slaves in my time. Generally, you want the slaves to be happy, and you shouldn't treat them like family for obvious reasons, but you should treat them as, like, neighbors. Like, on that level where you're courteous, you're their master at the end of the day, but they're still, like, people, and a happy slave is a good slave. Because there's nothing stopping, no matter how hard you stomp on them or whatever, they will find a way to strangle you in your sleep, and then kill your entire family.
Yep. They are humans after all, in that sense.
That's like one of the big whiskey brands in the U.S. is Jack Daniels, which was, one, taught to the slave master and his son by one of their slaves.
The argument...
And then... Yeah, and then whenever the son grew up, he freed the slave and had him, be the one to look over the whiskey.
Yeah, that was what's his name? Nathan Green, I think that was his guy's name, who had the original recipe for Jack Daniels. That's great. Yeah, no, yes, slavery, freedom, we get it. It's important, but it's not some boogeyman that we've never heard of and can't be depicted in storytelling. In order to address an issue, you have to depict the thing. It's kind of like saying, hey, let's have a cooking show, but we'll throw in some war to talk about the wars in the world. It's like, that's not pretty direct. Like, you're missing the whole leverage of using the actual idea as opposed to having a happier presentation just for the sake of what? Having people not freak out? You want people to freak out. It's a bad thing, so depict it the way it should be depicted. And if you're not doing it for the sake of, let's say, a wartime scenario, and you actually do want to talk about cooking, great. That's even more fun. Have a cooking show in the middle of World War I. How does that work? I have no idea. How would that... This
actually brings up a good, or at least a thing I was thinking about the other day. It's like, there's a couple of British stories that comes to mind, like Sand Troll or The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, where the movies open up with the kids being sent away during the London bombings.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, like Lion, the Witch, and Wardrobe opens up with them literally being bombed, and then Sand Troll is the kids being sent away during, before you see, without seeing any of the bombs, they just tell you it's happening.
Yeah.
So they send the kids away to Scotland, whatever.
Yeah.
And that is used as the hook, the big hook that immediately tells you these people are British, they are alone without their families, and they're afraid. That's for the immediate setups of meeting the alien creature.
Yeah.
One case being Sand Troll, the other one being, Narnia.
And this was a great idea. You should present the thing, whatever it is, whether it's rape or murder or war, in your story in order to address the issue of that very same thing. If you don't do that, then you're missing the opportunity to learn and hear a story that, because there's plenty of World War stories that I've either seen from books, and they're not just about war. They're about people living through the war and who dies and who went where and why. So you need those stories. And to say, oh, they're too sensitive, oh, you're going to do something to the reader, it's like, that's the point. You want them to be scared of war. So you need more war stories. You need more stories in general of really crazy bad things that you could never imagine, or that you can only imagine improperly, and then you're like, no, this is what war is like. Let me tell you the story. So anyway, let's get back to the video.
Yeah, I would say one more thing. And that is that throughout history, the more positive or least negative versions of slavery had, as we mentioned, such protections for slaves that those things seem, at least as sound on paper, much better than some of the work contracts that we have today. Because there's actual stability for your life and for your provision, which, with today's job markets and the contracts you have there, sometimes they're driving you crazy. They're psychologically breaking you, because you don't even have remotely safe workplace safety. We have time contracts here, that where a company fires you and then rehires you on these time contracts, which are just prolonged by the month. So you never know whether next month you still have a job, and you're also paid less. That just drives you nuts.
I think I've talked about this before, but a lot of Romanians come up here and work, and then the moment that they get hurt, their job doesn't cover it. They only cover it to pay the driver to send it back to Romania. So when they break a leg during unsafe working conditions after hours, like when it's illegal to work at night and whatnot, they do it anyways. They break a leg, they just send those fuckers back. They probably prefer to work on a slave contract at that rate.
Yeah, the better slave systems in the past, they would have had you care for the injured slave.
All right.
Sucks to live now, I guess.
Let's keep on going.
But that is not to say that, man, even today there are slavery going on in this world that does not even remotely abide by the more civilized rules, and is just brutal exploitation and destruction of people.
Research. Wait. No, that can't be right. That can't be right. Oh, no, I get it. He's going to free all the slaves.
Why would he do that?
He's going to free them, right?
Why?
She'll do. I'll take this one.
Oh my god.
What's wrong with that?
Today, I'm putting isekai anime on trial for how it represents slavery. I might not have a law degree, but I have...
How it represents. Okay, just how it represents. Not that, there's anything inherently wrong with it, just the depiction of slavery in fantasy.
It's not something you can stop yourself. It's something you can only do, like, improvements on an individual basis. Like, if you buy all the slaves, you have to get them to work, which means that you need a lot of capital. Like, that... Of all the things I can say about Rise of Shield here, it's probably one of the more mature takes on slavery.
Yeah.
Is that the guy is not financially stable enough to buy all the slaves, and he's not willing to try and pull a bouncing check on the slaver.
Imagine going and being transported to ancient Rome. It's like, oh, you got to get rid of the dictatorship of the emperor. It's like, what? How the hell am I going to do that?
Why would I do that?
Why? Yeah, first off, that would screw
Which
up.
emperor? Is it a bad emperor or is it a good emperor?
Yeah, this is like such a weird thing. Dictatorships are bad. It's like, and you want me to change the entire culture of Rome? How? It's a silly request. But anyway, let's just see how she deals with this.
I have played Ace Attorney, so I'm pretty sure I've got this in the bag. Ladies, gentlemen, and degenerates of the jury, today I shall present you with irrefutable evidence that slavery is sullying the sacred genre of isekai. Court is...
Yes?
I just have to say, the joke about women not being funny, is it a joke, or is it just reality playing out?
It was never a joke. It's just an assessment. It's an objective statement about reality.
Because in the past 15 minutes, I've been gritting my teeth, feeling my soul being ripped out my fucking flesh.
It's... Women trying comedy is usually just sounds condescending. Well, there are exceptions, but, let's just say they don't break the rule.
Let's just say anime manga geeks who are women who try comedy are probably not well versed in it. Anyway.
As a heads up, I will be discussing some mature themes in this video, including brief references to sexual assault. I'll also be spoiling the plots of some isekai, so proceed at your own.
Skeleton.
Earlier.
Okay. Jobless reincarnation, of course. Harem in the Labyrinth. That's a good depiction of slavery. Harelia's Hero. That's a good depiction of slavery. Black Summoner. I don't know.
Oh, they made an anime from that?
Well, the first season at least. Yeah, no, this is fine. She's got to hit the positives in Harem in the Labyrinth. If she doesn't, then she's a prude and doesn't understand all the women who are slaves love the hero for being first off, he's a genius. He does all these amazing things, as most isekai protagonists do. He treats them well. He clothes them. He gives them every freaking thing they can imagine and more. He makes them stronger because he knows how to level them up. I mean, everything he does. Imagine if you had a girlfriend and she does, she makes you a better man in every way, like financially, mentally, like everything works. And she happens to be a
Perfect
slave.
support character.
The best partner you could imagine, like beyond your imagination, and gives you a home. And running hot water.
Man, slavery doesn't sound that bad. Oh my god, that fucking sound makes me holy shit.
The idea of an isekai
Nope.
story featuring slavery was originally something that took off in light novels instead of on screen. However, after
It took off in storytelling since we've had stories. So no, it's nothing new.
the light novel Rising of the Shield Hero received an anime adaptation in 2019, the trend took off. Because Shield Hero was a commercial success, similar isekai light novels also received anime adaptations, and thus the trope was born. So here's a quick...
No. What? The trope was much older. You have never watched or heard of Junikoki, Those Who Hunt Elves, something older?
Oh, geez.
Odysseus?
Is that Odysseus an isekai?
No.
See?
Does an adventure count as an isekai?
No.
Well, Odysseus literally goes to hell. What further away from home can you go? And there's plenty of fucking slavery in there, including slave harem.
Well.
Fucking prudes, I swear.
I'm trying to think of the there's slaves in post nuclear
Alice in
war.
Wonderland.
Sorry.
Alice in Wonderland.
Were
Yeah.
there I'm trying to think.
I'm pretty sure the queen has slaves. She's evil after all.
Okay.
Some of Grimm's fairy tales you consider isekai.
Right. Okay, that's one way of putting it, I guess. I was trying to think of what's that crazy anime with the guy who punches someone's head with a lot of chicken sounds and their brains explode. That had slaves.
Fist of the North Star?
This is the North Star. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, so any stuff from the 80s will have a character or themes of slavery.
Yeah, so it's nothing. The element has been around in manga and anime and in stories for thousands of years. Nothing new. And apparently she has a problem with it now.
Was Shield Hero really the one that made it big?
No.
No, I
I
wouldn't
feel
say.
there was something before that.
Dot hack.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, Dot Hack kind of fits it, yes.
Yeah.
Fumi, our hero, is a modern-day Japanese guy who's summoned to another world, along with Great Value Kirito, Dollar Store Link, and Ponytail Bro. Everyone thinks Nafumi is lame because shields are boring.
That's Mordred. Come on, woman. That's just Mordred.
That is literally Mordred. And
He's false.
and the one she called Link is basically just Lancelot.
Don't they make a joke about him being essentially Lancelot at one point?
Well, if she doesn't explain the dynamics of the actual conflict, which are how bad the villains are, and then slavery is worse. Like no, it's not. It really isn't.
False accusations have always been the worst thing in humankind. The absolute worst. There's a piece about it in the Edda.
It was punishable by death back in, the Celtics.
Hammurabi, which also has a code about slaves, the oldest document of law that we know of in human history, had if you were convicted of a false accusation, your punishment would be what the falsely accused would have faced if convicted of the falsely accused thing. So if you would have falsely accused somebody of rape, you would have been punished by what a rapist would have been punished by. That is what the eye for an eye really means. And I think that one, for false accusations, I think we should bring that one back.
I mean, there's so many depictions of the slave collar. I don't know if you guys are familiar with whenever there's someone being controlled in anime or manga. These Yeah, they usually have a literal physical slave collar, whether it's technological or magical or a.
There's a gem in it usually.
It could
Yeah,
be,
like with Shield Hero, it is literally a sigil that they use with magic and imprint it into the person.
yeah, it could be a tattoo. There's all kinds of things, and if you go against your master, it like shocks you or kills you. Like there's and it's not just fantasy. Like Fairy Tail has one. Eureka 7 has one. It's Why Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? There's one story with that. Like there's so many. It's such a trope. And it fits in so nicely with magical artifacts and hierarchies and power systems. It's like, that's good. That's great. We have these objects and symbols to represent a thing, and they have some ramifications, and there's rules behind them, and there's ways to break those rules. There's lots of great, I wouldn't say great isekai, but the guy who could look into the status screen of someone else can see, oh, you're a slave. I can take that off. I can change your status, and now you're no longer a slave. It's like, what? Like, boom, the whole story is about slavery is done within a matter of seconds almost. So the point is not slavery. That's just one of the many hurdles these characters were in. And this guy comes out of nowhere, saves the day, and he's seen as a hero, and that's the story. It's a power fantasy. It's a hero fantasy, whatever the fantasy is. And it works so quickly and so well. And we all get it.
That's what I was talking about, was the usage of it is very snappy. It's very, oh yeah, here's the character dynamic done. That's as much slavery as they usually make use of.
Yeah.
It's a plot device as slavery usually is in narratives.
Yep, it's common.
The name currently escapes me, which I think is a sign of getting old, because I watched that. Came around the same time of Record of Lodoss War, the fantasy anime with mecha.
Gunbun?
Not Gunbun.
Escaflowne?
Escaflowne, yes. That was an isekai.
Yep.
Also had slavery.
Yep.
Yeah, the
well,
cat
was
girl.
medieval.
What's her name? She was...
Always the cat girls.
Why do Japan like cats? I don't get it. They're not real pets, but they are pets. It's kind of... Anyway. Let's just keep going.
Princess. Everyone hates his guts and he gets kicked out of the palace. He still has to train to fight monsters, but no one will help him because his reputation sucks, so he buys the cheapest slave his broke ass can find, a demi-human girl named Raftalia. She has a magical branding on her chest which forces her to obey Naofumi's orders. Naofumi enlists his new slave to help him level up by killing monsters. Raftalia is terrified because she has PTSD from that one time when monsters killed her entire family, but Naofumi uses her slave brand to force her to fight against her will. Her PTSD is miraculously cured after one fight, and soon she and Naofumi are best buds, even though she's still technically his property. The other heroes are...
because that is dealing with the trauma. Because you learn to fight back. That actually does help. It may not be completely gone through that, but man... that first step that shows that you can actually do something, that you have agency, that makes a giant difference.
Well, just imagine
real PTSD.
that you had...
I'm serious.
What if you had PTSD of, I don't know, your village was burned to the ground by demons or whatever, and...
So next time you see a demon, you just freeze there while it's racing his menacing sword. What the fuck is the hero supposed to do? Just stand there and watch?
Well, the argument here in this case of the story is that if I have a brand that makes me a slave, and it compels me to act, the hero effectively has cured me of my PTSD to the point of behavioral change, and then eventually I'll just keep behaving properly so that my fears are gone. So you may think, oh, he's forcing you to do something. Yeah, but it's helping me. It's a good thing. And I'm alive as a result. I'm not dead meat. So that's a good thing. Everything she's shown so far is a good thing. First off, he bought her for their benefit, not just his. He not cured, but helped her through her trauma. Got her stronger because always there's levels. Is there levels in Shield Hero? I can't remember.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
I would consider that leftists believe that PTSD is something that is forever and that you always must run away from.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Which is insane.
Yeah, you never get cured of you have to constantly go to therapy. There is no cure for being human or whatever. So
they must have fucking hated Puss in Boots.
I don't know.
They don't even want PTSD. They don't even want therapy.
Well,
they just want to be victims. And there are forms of PTSD so severe that it is very difficult to get rid of, that you will maybe never get completely rid of. But to just run away, that doesn't work. Well, you may need help by someone. And Raftalia had help, necessary help.
So just to summarize, everything that we've seen of slavery has been good. Not to say...
to the benefit of the slaves so far.
To the benefit... Yeah, obviously we're not going to say the entire community of slavery. We're just saying what we've seen so far has been positive for everyone involved.
Fumi owns a slave.
He actually has a slave in his party? Man, how much lower is this guy gonna go?
Then Ponytail Guy challenges Naofumi to a duel,
you're siding
with the
with the
understanding that if he wins, Naofumi will have to free Raftalia. They fight, Naofumi almost wins, but the princess cheats, and Raftalia is freed. Hooray! But then 5 minutes later, she decides that actually she really wants to be a slave again, and she asks to be rebranded so that she can become Naofumi's slave, and they'll be together forever.
Oh, so she actually likes the guy.
Yep.
And
it's her substitute for a wedding ring.
That's kind of cute, and to her, it doesn't even matter whether she's depicted as a slave or reenacted as a slave. It's like, no, this is what I want, and it doesn't matter if it was marriage. It doesn't matter if it was like a title. She just wants to be with Naofumi, and if it has to be a slave, no problem. That's what I want.
What's funny is that she's painting this like, oh yeah, they're freeing her from slavery. They're intentionally ripping them apart. They want her to be separated from him so they can hurt him.
Yeah. Because he cannot actively fight. He's the tank. He is forced to fight passively and not actually be able to deal much damage.
So until later.
That is why.
Yes.
Yeah. But this is why you're correct. Why they want to tear them apart. And she wants to be she wants to be bound to him, so that also nobody else can bind her.
So this is a good example. Slavery has almost nothing to do with this scenario. It's just the tool that she uses to be back with what she wants. That's it. Mm-hmm. So in this context, slavery has no value as opposed to the, it's freedom. And it's like, no.
It could be a blood bond for all that matters.
Yeah, she just wants it. She wants to be with Naofumi, and therefore make me a slave, whatever it takes.
Yeah, think of it like this: if she having the magical slave mark that binds her to Naofumi, that means nobody else can control her. And that is what she wants. She wants that protection because she feels safe with him.
Okay.
It wasn't the end. It was only like 5 episodes, but I had to stop watching at this point because I could feel myself developing an ulcer.
Why?
There was definitely some initial backlash online when the show first started airing, but ultimately it performed pretty well. It was rated highly, and it's been greenlit for not
only... Oh, it's not backlash. That's just you weirdos having a hissy fit as always. You're like Christian moms. There's not enough Jesus in your show. So much violence. It'll make you into school shooters. Yeah. And you're just the same thing about anything with sex or
when we get
women in general.
Ulcers, or we get headaches, or we get convulsions, whatever you want to call pain from watching or consuming media, it's because what we saw and heard or played was so stupid and made so little sense, and the logic following the character and their plot was so off that we had to go, wait a second, did that actually happen? Did people write this shit in that way? That's why we stop watching or reading, or maybe we keep going because it's so bad we have to see what happens next. It's so crazy we can't expect or even deduce what's going to occur. So in her case, slavery's bad, and she used it to go back to the slave owner. It's like, yeah, she loves him. That's a beautiful thing. Can you imagine a person saying, I don't care what I have to do to be with this person. You want me to be a slave? Let's be a slave.
I remember there's a punchline in some Nordic poems, is that a slave earns their freedom and they go right back so they can be back with their best friend or whatever.
If that's what it takes. Yeah, it's such a charming thing that she has so much conviction and desire to say, no. Yeah, he may have made me a slave, but he treats me well. And I don't want to be around you guys because you treat him poorly.
Oh, that's a good point, Joe Crazy in the chat. He says partially she also puts back on the seal because it makes it impossible for her to lie. And she does it to reassure Naofumi that she is being 100% honest because he has trust issues. That's a really good point. I completely forgot about that.
So yeah, so far I'm very worried that she supported the bad guys in this scenario because the topic is slavery. And I'm guessing she's an American white woman or an American black woman.
Oh yeah, no, she's American. There's no question.
She's certainly a Karen.
Well,
yeah,
we don't know about that.
No, she has Karenist attitude.
And Karenism.
All right.
But enough about Rising of the Shield Hero. Let's see what came after.
You didn't even argue your case.
No. It's. I mean, yes, you're correct. Because she is of the kind that assumes us mind reading her point and magically agreeing with her thoughts that she isn't conveying. Because she's just right.
This is the most frustrating type of argument where they just assume that they are correct because they summarize something else.
Yeah, it's because I had a feeling I didn't like, therefore the whole line of my logic must be accurate. You're like,
Remember the video, the fucking 40K video we covered just the other day?
Oh.
Where the person did that exact same thing, they just read the article and then looked at the camera and went, wow, I can't believe anyone would disagree with this.
Yeah, the guy who or the people, we even know who posted that stupid article, said the thing, therefore it's correct. You're like, did you read the thing?
Intern.
Did you read what they said and just used your brain for about 20 seconds going, does that make any sense? But nope, they'll just keep reading it. That was the whole video. They just read the whole article.
Can't imagine a position different from his own.
And following in the footsteps of Shield Hero and incorporating slavery into their stories. But where Shield Hero didn't imply any romantic relationship between Naofumi and Raphtalia, future isekai did not hold themselves to the same standard.
Don't they hook up later?
Stuck.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. So what is she talking about?
Like, it's at the end of the first season that Raphtalia is like, hey, I'm in love with you, and Naofumi's like, I see you as my daughter.
Like, no.
Yeah. But they still pine.
Because he's still. It's actually a really telling scene or gripping scene in the arena, and oh god, my browser's acting up. It's a really gripping scene because we see the people from Naofumi's eyes, and he really sees Raphtalia still as this little girl, although she has grown so much. It's a great way of show don't tell.
And pretty soon, isekai protagonists began collecting hot slave babes left and right like Pokemon to add to their harems. The more research I did for this video, the more these shows started to blur together, and I realized that they follow a pretty set formula. First, they always feature a male protagonist, usually a young adult or teenager, who is somehow transported into a fantasy world where slavery exists. The protagonist is in need of a new adventuring party member or a new hot babe for his harem, so he ends up deciding to buy a slave. The slave is always...
Yeah, you need to watch Escaflowne and Junikoki.
Have you also not watched Tanya the Evil?
There's no slavery there, is there?
No, because it's World War One.
This could be any trope. Male protagonist, fantasy, slavery. Anything is socially acceptable in the fantasy world because it's the fantasy world where anything is the writer wants is possible. And
man, I can't believe I watched a male-targeted series in a male-targeted demographic show, or series, whatever, publication, and I keep getting male protagonist shows. God damn it! Why does this keep happening to me?
Also, one quick thing about number 5. Shield Hero, Naofumi doesn't just have only girl slaves. He actually has a whole village of slaves that are also from Raphtalia's old village, and they chose to become his slaves, so they would never lie to him.
Yeah, and jobless reincarnation, you see the slave markets, they have everyone.
Once again, the slavery is like the least problematic aspect of that fucking show.
Yeah, socially acceptable. It's been throughout human history, since time immemorial. It's only now. We live in the exceptional time, in the exceptional place.
Are we having a first world problem where because
Yes.
we're in the future and everything's democratic and we got
Yes.
freedom for all and look at the past. The past was so bad. It's like we agree the past was pretty bad.
She's literally living on the ivory tower, not even knowing what's going on in the rest of the world in the present. Because slavery is not abolished on the whole planet. It's only abolished in the West because the West actually actively fought to end it.
Well, I
And
would
cripples
Some of the wars the Westerners fought in Africa were about ending slavery.
I wish it was the ivory tower where her intellect is up there as opposed to her sense of morality. Because that's where I think she's sitting.
People who have the intellect in the ivory tower are also disconnected from reality. That's where we get the socialism from.
Okay.
So no thank you.
All right.
Just tear down the ivory tower.
Okay, we'll just say she's up there.
The only good ivory tower is in Fantasia.
Conventionally attractive girl or woman. Now, to make sure she isn't a bad person for buying a slave, the protagonist will agonize over this decision via long-winded internal monologue.
Okay, so you're admitting the character is like, oh my god, I'm buying a slave. So they address whatever nuance.
They address
bought by
they
some
address-
some asshole.
Yeah.
They address that it's a problem of slavery, but they can't fix it. That means it's bad.
Well, this is
if
what you do.
every show came out saying that, man, socialism bad, but I have to be in a socialist system, would you complain about the existence of socialism there?
Well, this is normal stuff of what you do in a story. A question pops up in the writer's mind going, wait a second, does my character really like slavery? And you go, of course not. Let him say a line or two saying, I don't want to do this, but I got to do this to survive, and this is the best solution in the situation I'm in. And the audience goes, yeah, I agree. Like, what else could you do? That's it. And the story continues because that's all we needed to get over that moral dilemma. Done.
Was it Raftalia or the girl in Jobless Reincarnation that was also sick and dying while she was in the cage?
She was dying, yeah. She was not
That was
physically dying.
Natalia.
Yeah, I mean, in that one example of the second season, was it the second season of Jobless Reincarnation? Where she was, the girl was like on her, like she had no reason to live. Like she was just sitting there in that cage. And he goes, look, we're going to take you. And turns her into a happy little girl with a dress and feeds her and teaches her magic and all the hijinks they get into. It was the best thing that could have happened to her.
Yeah, because this point 6 doesn't work here because it is not wrong to save a child from death. That's what's happening here. It's not, oh no, I'm buying a slave. It's, I'm saving a child from death.
Yeah, this is one of the arguments for, the Civil War in America. Why did you have a giant... Obviously, there's more that happened in the Civil War than just slavery. But one of the things could have been, you just could have bought all the slaves and then freed them.
Yeah, no, you couldn't.
I know, but that's
because
one
it was
of the,
not legally possible to free them. That's why many slaves already lived like free people, but legally... just on paper, we're slaves.
This is one of the arguments. I'm not saying it's a viable one.
Yeah, but that's the crazy part that these people don't understand. And I think in part, this is probably not to her knowledge, but in general, I'm getting the feeling that the socialists, the left, don't want us to know the actual history of slavery, not just overall in world history, but also specifically in the United States, because they do not want us to know that it is nuanced and not as crazy, dark, one-sided as they make it out to be. Because then suddenly things don't look so grim anymore.
Right. And the depiction of slavery in the world is acceptable. The only issue becomes the mental or the internal monologue of the main character going, am I doing this? Yeah, okay, cool. And in every case, this happens in every story I read, every protagonist treats the slave with way more respect and way more friendliness than you would expect, which is good and normal.
And they never talk about how the death rate of slaves was much higher when they were walked across the African continent to the east, and sold into the Islamic world, and what the Islamic world did to their slaves that they bought. Because that's a way more gruesome fate.
All right, I missed a super chat. Thank you there. Mad Courier 6 for the $10. Imagine not doing something every time it made you uncomfortable, never stretching your boundaries, never opening your mind to trying to understand other people's points of view. Sadly, this is what people do that we cover when they make videos. They just think, oh, this is the book. I've read it all. I know everything. Let me make a video. My opinion is flawless. And, look at her comments. Everyone agrees with her. And upvotes and downvotes. Whoever found her video for 30,000 views agreed with her. So, yeah. She's in a little echo chamber, like many of these people. And I'm just writing some comments down as we go through. I'm going to leave a comment just because I think she's salvageable. I don't think she's going to listen to my comment, but you can't be this dumb. You're just a kid watching cartoons. It can't be that. You can't be that dumb, right?
Like part of what makes a useful idiot is simple ignorance. It's not necessarily your fault. It's just that nobody ever taught you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Slavery is wrong, but he has no choice. And of course he's going to be a good slave owner because he'll treat his slave so much better than some other creep. After all, he's a good guy. Needless to say, things escalated pretty quickly, and we went from hero buys a slave to round out his party to hero decides to invest in full-blown sexual slavery.
It's not sexual slavery. They want him. They go, wow, this guy's attractive. He's feeding me. They're expected to perform this anyway, but he doesn't take advantage of that. He gets them comfortable with him. He tries to be, okay, I'm not going to jump on them the first opportunity I get.
No, but Smud, it's sex slavery and all that jazz.
It's literally them fighting in dungeons half the time. He buys a house after he spends all this time in hotels because he's like, wait, this is getting silly. I should buy a house and save money and make food and make soap and do all these things. But buy a bed, get rules for how to make the bed, get resources, how to make the tub. He uses hot water magic to fill in this tub. Like it's not just buy slave, rape slave. It's like, no.
I like that you put the fucking how not to summon a demon lord into the generic category of like, my girl, please watch something else or watch more shit.
Yeah, that's a pretty tame. That's a pretty tame.
Yeah, if you think that tame shit is quote unquote degenerate, my girl.
Yeah.
And if you have a problem with sex slavery, good on you. But if you do have a problem with sex slavery, you need to build that wall, you need to tighten that border, and you need to what's the word? Take apart those alleged parents from those alleged children and check whether they are actually family or not.
Fraternity tests exist for a reason.
Uh-huh.
All right.
Because if you don't have that wall, if you don't have that border, that sex slavery gets right into your country.
But even then, like there's so many different isekai. There's isekai for women that pretty much do the same thing.
Maga's Bride. Maga's Bride might not be isekai, but it starts out with the main character as a slave and being bought by the Magas as his bride. That's the whole thing with the show, and it's extremely popular with women, last I checked.
And Matt Correa, Violence Jack is not isekai.
Or you son of a bitch, I was going to make that joke. I was going to bring a thing up. Yeah, if this woman's bitching about sex slavery, have you heard of this slow-known manga or anime series called Violence Jack?
Oh, God.
Man, I've tormented these people. I've traumatized people in this fucking community. Good lord.
I wanted to look away. What the hell is going on?
I remember. I remember the first scene in the Maga's Bride. Yeah, she's at the slave auction, and she gets bought, and it's like, yeah, whatever, it's normal.
And they make it even more sexually tense in the anime with him fucking pulling the chain and breathing all over her. That show is purely made for women.
Yep.
Okay. Oh no, 16 years old.
No. Wait.
She looks like an adult.
Why doesn't she like sex? I mean, obviously the show is not for her, but is it so bad that other
She's
people
gonna complain about pedophilia again because somebody likes the girl with E-cup breasts.
Oh my god. Fucking Americans. Oh, the 18 or pedophilia. Fuck off. Genuinely. Walk outside.
Also,
Go
they're
to school.
fictional characters.
in a fantasy medieval setting where they know their role? That guy has to have a deadline. I don't remember the story very well, but he has to get a certain amount of money to buy what's her face, and he has to go like through 16-hour days or whatever it is to get, like, to fight and get money, and then finally has just enough. And she wants to be bought. She wants him because she's gonna get sold off to some other dude that, you know. There's always some scummy noble who's the real pervert, who's gonna I'm gonna buy her. It's like no. The hero comes in, buys her, and saves her, and treats her right, and she thanks him for it. She likes him for obvious
Best
many
option.
reasons. Yeah, she gets the best deal out of all of that, and she's thankful for it. Anyway,
I think it's a variation of the hero getting the prince, saving the princess from the dragon or the dungeon.
Yeah.
And the dungeon and or dragon here is slavery.
it's not just I have money, I'm going to be a hot slave. It's like
Oh.
I have to strive. I'm on a deadline. I got to work hard and be efficient just to get the money going to save this girl.
So slavery is the dungeon, and the creepy other guy who could buy the girl is the dragon.
That's one way of looking. Yeah, no, it's so like it's not just this is a sex fantasy. No, this is a fantasy world where the guy he talks to the god at the start of the Isekai. He's like, well, what do you want? Well, I just want an easy life. The king's like, okay, well, the god's like, here's a sword that absorbs magic, so you could kill things and get your health back. And I think he got some other skill. I can't remember what it was. But essentially, all he wanted was just to have an easy life, have fun adventuring, and meet wonderful women. And he didn't know there were slaves. He had no idea. And so he's like, oh, there's slaves in this world. Let me help them. And the first one he caught was when he went to the slave market because he needed help fighting, was this gorgeous young girl. And he's like, okay, I want her. No problem. But she's really expensive. Like, oh my God, what do I do? And then the conflict comes. Oh, I got to go back to the dungeon, start fighting. So it's not like this is a dumb, stupid thing for sexual exploitation of dog girls or whatever she was.
Gotta free them all, poker slaves.
Yeah.
Man, she would really, really hate Great Cleric. Because the world that he's transported into and becomes a healer of, all the healers are corrupt and charge exorbitant prices, and the people that can't actually pay for the treatment are sold off to another country for slavery because the one that they're in, slavery is outlawed. And the main character is just like, hey, I can heal you for a small price, like 1 silver coin, and it's usually like 20 or 30 gold coin to get healed. I can heal you 1 silver coin, but I'm not always going to be here, so you're gonna have to use the clinic sometime. He's like, I'm not here to, dismantle the clinical system. I'm just doing what I can to survive.
All right. Almost 6 minutes through. Almost halfway done.
Yeah, you already went over good ones.
Yeah, every single one.
Okay, but what about the good ones? The isekai where the hero helps the slaves out instead of...
Why would you show Tanya when she opens fire on children?
Wait, go back.
Like, it's an entire scene dedicated to...
Kill them all.
Yeah, kill them all right now. These are people that are still in the city after we told them to fuck off. If they're still here, you shoot them because they're just gonna come back and fight you, so shoot the child.
We are currently not allowed to say that because Gaza.
And ReZero is another one where it's like most of the people in the setting of ReZero are bound to some kind of contract, like legally or spiritually. Like one of the characters is essentially a mana whore for one of the other characters.
Mm-hmm.
And she fucking loves him for it.
Yep. And
She wants
then
nothing but being his mana whore.
does Konosuba even have slavery?
No, that's what I mean, is that they don't have hard, they have indentured servitude at best.
Oh, but we also get to see short scenes of 1,000 years in the past, of 10,000 years in the past. At some point, somewhere, there will have been slavery. Technically, the whole ruby-eyed demon thing, they were created in a lab as a servant race, so they're technically all slaves.
They were created by a freaking otaku.
I love that part of the story.
Trivia at that.
With the strange ancient runes that are just Japanese. He tells his pathetic backstory. With ... I love it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Let's take a look at some contenders. First, Jobless Reincarnation, in which the protagonist actually helps rescue some beast children who are being abducted by slave traders. This seems pretty wholesome, until you remember that a few episodes ago he was living with a wealthy family and being waited on hand and foot by enslaved beast people working as servants. Not only that, but...
So what?
What's he supposed to do?
Yeah, the Grey Rat
Does he
family
know? Does he
has
care?
slaves. So what?
This is sounding like somebody who would make. This sounds like somebody arguing propaganda.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
It's also-
just for being near them, you are also the one whose head needs to be lopped off during the revolution kind of shit. I'm getting
Yeah,
real
Have a
sick of
cool
hearing it.
argument. Yeah,
It's
just-
also shown in Jobless Reincarnation that the Grey Rat family, his own family, his distant family, actually treat the servants really well. So, what's the point that you're making here?
This is
What you should be finding is like dig through it. Really fucking dig through all of these shows. Find me a show that puts a bright spot on slavery and says that slavery actually really good. Slavery not bad, slavery positive. Go ahead, fucking do it. Find an isekai that makes that argument. Make me a Roman argument. Go ahead. Fucking find one.
Yeah,
the smart.
I was going to say the guy that we see on the screen, he loves cat girls, right? He loves.
Yep.
Like I want to be surrounded by that. He doesn't treat them poorly. They love it working with him.
And it's shown that the Grey Rat family all have a certain proclivity to something that they're really, really focused on. For him, it's cat girls. For Rudius, it is a harem.
Isn't he just into big chesticles?
That too. But one of his wives does, or two of his wives don't have big chesticles.
Yeah, because he looked past. He learned to look past that and see the inner beauty, the soul, the personality, and fell in love with that. And that confused him. That even confused him because, well, she's not actually my type. Why the hell do I love her?
The Kuma
kind of
realizing there's more to a woman than just her breasts.
Yeah,
Really groundbreaking storytelling.
Well, there's not many that do that nowadays. But I think I've mentioned in the green room and not on the record, unless you correct me, please. Because for all its flaws, Game of Thrones showed the problem with abolishing slavery in an instant very well when Daenerys decreed in that city she took over, hey, slavery's over now. And the next day, nobody had work because she forgot to reinstate some alternative system. So the slaves were starving and no work got done. So the masters also got starving. So everything was shit and they wanted to get slavery back because, well, at least that worked. And the slaves wanted slavery back too. You need an alternative for that. You can't just say, oh, you're all free now. That also was bad in America when that actually was done. Because not everyone suddenly still had jobs on the fields. The people who ran them, yes, they took some back and employed them, but not all of the ones they had. And those were then out of jobs. And that means out of money. That means out of food. And many of them moved into the cities. And suddenly there were slums. You can't do this overnight. You need to do this in a transitional manner, which was the original plan of many people who were against abolishing it instantly. But hey, you would need to actually look into the history of how all of that happened. What you basically got was the worst way to abolish slavery. Doing it overnight. On you go.
Okay, before we restart, I just need to raise a point that Mad Curious 6 brought to my attention. This woman has a Patreon, and I don't mean to sabotage her income, whatever. Like, we disagree with her, whatever. Like, who gives a shit? But she has a very interesting point on a Patreon. I'll read aloud. Josei Cafe. In her About section, I enjoy anime, memes, and long walks on the beach with Dio Brando.
What?
The vampire that enslaves people using the stone mask.
Oh, so she just wants to be the slave instead of the slave girl.
Well,
She wants to be Dio Brando's fucking slave girl. I swear to fucking God.
If she
is
likes
beyond parody.
If she likes Josei manga, obviously that's her genre or her category of storytelling, and that's fine. But you do not have that sensibility, nor should you apply that to other genres or other content. And this is why we sit there going, okay, this is not for you. That's fine. But you can't say it's bad because you don't like it. You're already starting off with a bias saying, this is not Josei. It's like, you're right. So why are you complaining about it? Go back to your corner and enjoy your Josei.
Yeah,
Go back on your long walk with the vampire.
Or whatever.
What is happening? The mind enslaving vampire. I think what's going on here is that she's doing the typical thing that women do. And we have the science. The science is in. Women say one thing that they think is socially virtuous, while in truth, internally, in their brains, they want the opposite of what they're saying. And she says, oh, slavery bad, while her secret fetish is being enslaved to the big vampire guy.
This is the same guy that turns a woman into a vampire so you can watch her eat her fucking baby. Because he finds the, irony funny. This guy is not exactly, a very good, quote-unquote, slave owner. So
you're just adding more evil women tropes here.
All right.
I don't mean to add any, further drama. I do find it extremely funny though. Just the contrast between what she enjoys in terms of characters and what she says is bad.
This fucker has sexual slavery, but yeah, I'll go on long walks on the beach with the guy who put a dog in the harness. Yeah.
It's even worse when I think about it, because he raped several women and had children with them.
He literally tried to do that to Erina in the first part.
Yeah,
Secret
he did.
Rape fetish.
Oh, he had so many fucking kids too. They all show up later like, God damn, woman, you're fucked in the head.
Only one of them is kind of decent compared to the other three. The other one's dressed like a cow. The other's a dumbass. And then
the third one's a Disney fan.
Maybe this is why she can't make an actual argument, because secretly she wants this.
Oh, you mean that she can't argue against it because she's into it?
Well, this is where we're spending most of our time trying to figure out why the person's thinking the way they are, as opposed to what they're saying is pointless. if not wrong.
Yep. But this is a common thing. This is the crazy stuff. This is a common thing. It's been investigated. Mind blowing.
All right. Well, we're halfway done. We're almost there.
Straight up has a fetish for beast people, and he is cheating on his people servants. This behavior is neither opposed nor ethically examined by the protagonist. Okay, so I guess we can cross that one off the list of good ones. What about Skeleton Knight in Another World? Apparently most of the plot centers on the hero trying to put an end to slavery. That should be pretty good. Let's give the first episode a try. This show is supposed to be like an adventure romp comedy, and yet it opens with one of the most graphic, upsetting rape scenes I've ever seen in.
I honestly don't remember. I've watched a bit of this, but I've read most of the manga. I don't remember that, honestly.
He has not seen Goblin Slayer?
Has she not seen Violence Jack?
No,
He's not seen fucking anything.
Anyone has seen Violence Jack.
Yeah, the majority
that is good,
of this,
because otherwise we would all go insane.
The majority of this story, the start, is he's trying to figure out how he got here. What does it mean to be a skeleton knight? Like, what is his armor? All this stuff. Like, he's just trying to figure out what he is. That's it. And this is normal isekai stuff. Like, what are my limits? What are my powers? What are my skills? So I do not recall anything. If there was, it wasn't that. It was just a scene. It was something that happened very quickly. So who cares? Again, Goblin Slayer had the same thing. Oh, wow, there's a rape scene that lasts 3 seconds. Like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah, 3 seconds. Compare that to 4 minutes. You're 3 seconds. And
it mainly alluded to. But okay, Goblin Slayer is not an isekai. She gets that. But I've just had a really, really horrible thought. Is what she's doing, like supposedly arguing against slavery and grape, while secretly that's her fetish, is that the same thing as these weirdos arguing against manga and anime because they claim it's pedophilia, and then it turns out they're pedophiles? Is that the same mechanic? I must be virtuous about the thing I'm secretly into so that people actually think I'm virtuous and not a degenerate? It seems mechanically the same, just that, well, she doesn't want to be the active part in it, but the passive one.
I feel like I can quietly sink into the corner now like a goblin, having done my part.
You know goblins get killed.
Want to subvert the trope?
Goblins are basically just short elves.
Okay, guys, I'm literally reading the first chapter of this, of Skeleton Knight in Another World. The first panel is two girls getting, about to be raped. And the second panel is, boom, this massive knight comes out of nowhere. It's not even one page. And then it just goes into him. Oh, I don't understand. Where am I? Blah, blah, blah.
Also in the manga, the actual act doesn't even happen?
It's one page. It's one page, and then we go straight into him being, who am I? What am I doing here? Da, 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 da. And he chops down all these trees because he's so strong. Typical isekai stuff. We wake up, oh, where am I? And I'm just going through it. Yeah, he's still figuring out. He has his dimensional move where he could, like, blink all over the place. He's flying, basically. He sees himself as a skeleton. This is half the comic. It's just all about him. And then we finally get to the scene where he saves the girls. And it happens so quickly. It's like that was 2 pages at most. And he kills them all.
It's kind of the opening to Goblin Slayer.
Yeah, it's nothing. This is nothing new. This is nothing special. And this is a good thing because it showcases he's a hero. It has nothing to do with slavery. It's just women are in trouble. Batman comes in and saves the day. It's the same idea. Whoop-de-doo.
This concept is so basic. I understood it when I was 4 watching Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where Raphael kicks a guy's ass for trying to, like, mock a woman, saying, "Give me the money again. I won't hurt you too bad." Like, it's basic bullshit.
set up the villains to be bad. They're not even real characters. They're just there to be targets for the hero to showcase his heroism, and that's fine. It's a setup. It's not a big deal. And if she's turned off by that, don't read it. The book is not for you, even though the rest
I
of the
don't
book
think
is
she's
fine.
turned off by it. I think she's ashamed that she's turned on by it.
No, she had to use it because, oh my God, there's rape. We gotta talk about the R word. And you're like, why? The story is not
Because
about
she's
rape.
ashamed that she's turned on by it, so she has to virtue signal.
Yeah, well, anyway. This is such a silly point, but anyway, let's keep going. $9.99 from Legacy. I could talk about Marl Barak. Despite being butt naked and being a fit woman that can break all your bones, she makes a good template for a villainess due to the workout grind and hating weak women. Where is that from? Matt Marl Barak. What?
Never heard of her.
What anime, manga, or what story is that from? I can't.
Tensei Coliseum.
I know the one
that
he's
one.
referring to.
That
yeah,
one.
it's the one everyone shares. Yeah.
Okay, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's a weird story. I think.
Good taste, though. Legacy for one's coming in with a good taste.
This one.
All right.
Oh,
She would lose her mind if she heard about that story. This YouTuber. Anyway.
Where everyone's just fucking jealous of the main character having her as a slave.
The tomboy queen.
Yep.
every character drug induces the loser to aphrodisiac sex. Yeah, it's crazy.
If you're a guy, you just turn into a chick and the chick gets a dick, like, oh, that artist just went fucking hog wild with the fetishes.
Anyway. Not important. Let's keep going.
I did give it a couple more episodes, and it protagonist's journey of trying to put an end to the slave trade. But honestly, the opening was so upsetting, and the show's attitude towards sexual assault and mistreatment of women in general.
If you have a problem with any of that, then become a fucking activist and tell the Islamic world to stop slavery, because they still practice it. Tell China to stop slavery, because they practice it.
Well,
Tell North Korea to stop it, because they practice it.
Anyone who makes this argument is not worthy of your time, because the depiction of this and that is bad. It's like, how is it bad? What exactly is bad? Because it has it? Because it
happens?
Because the hero stops it from, like, what is the problem? This is what you need. You can't have a story about war without war. This is dumb. And all the
doing
horrors.
something good when there's no problem.
And the hero coming in and doing a little, like, not solving the war. He's one guy, but it's like a little small part of the war. Just helping the one girl or the one guy get away. That's
I think
fine.
the only series that comes to mind which glorifies war in any way is like Star Wars. That's like the only one that comes to mind where war is like an accepted thing. Where real media that comes to mind shows like pure horrors of war. Where in Star Wars, when 1 billion people die, it's just celebrations when it's the bad guys. Like, that's the only one that comes to mind. Everything else is just bad, war bad, war bad, war bad. It's the same here. Slavery bad, slavery bad, slavery bad. The worst you can come around to is people working within the slave trade.
Yeah,
even there, the people are happy, satisfied. There's no picking like women. There's no forcing them to interbreed to get more slaves. There's no like actual dark shit from like Muslim enslavement of like that one Icelandic monk that wrote about like the Arab slave trade, like the actual horrific shit you'd see on an open slave market. There's no such thing in these fantasy settings.
Yeah, usually the slave traders are just very upstanding citizens. They're like, yep, this is my job. I want to treat these people right. I want to make sure that you're a good person that buy these slaves. He doesn't just sell to anyone. That happens in Harem in the Labyrinth. And he tells him, hey, this guy wants to buy him, but I'm going to give you a deal, but you better hurry it up because, it's going to happen very soon. So they don't have like, I'm a slave trader. I got all these slaves. Like, no, they're not disgusting perverts. It's a believable setting with realistically, as much as they can do it within the time frame of a tertiary character to be depicted, to say, okay, here's the story. I'm the exposer of the story. This is the plot. You got to figure out how to buy this slave or else.
Libya got slave markets again.
Oh, really?
Right after Gaddafi was nuked by the Clintons.
Oh, God.
Destabilized the whole country. Now you could buy black women there again for the equivalent of $17.
Anyway.
Vote blue.
Okay.
Back
to fantasy.
I was considering mentioning the Libyan slave trade that opened up after, recent events, the Libyan civil war and whatnot.
Oh, God, please
But I
don't.
felt it would be kind of like poor taste.
Yeah, but the thing is, she complains about that in fantasy. She has no clue what's going on in real life. She thinks it's gone. No,
Well,
it's not.
If she would just read more books she didn't like, oh my God, this horrible. Like, can you imagine reading a story and going, it's so horrific, I couldn't read it. Like, I read a book about what if humanity descended into cannibalism, right? So the whole world.
And how dare they portray cannibalism?
Well, like, what would you? Oh, it's too horrific for me. It's like, no, it isn't. It's just that's the idea, and it has to do with people being raised as food, and they don't learn how to speak and don't learn how to read. They're basically cattle. And if you can't stomach the theoretical concept of a woman being raised as cattle and being treated as a cow or whatever, then that story is not for you. But the idea of people being treated as objects is very well received in that story. That's one of the points of cannibalism.
Angel had a story arc about that when they were in the demon world.
Oh, really?
It was actually kind of fun. Some things were a bit too stupid, but yeah, that's where humans were slaves and detested, and human women were called cows.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is the nature of the story. There's nothing inherently good about it, but that's the writer has to go through the ramifications of all the details that makes that believable to the reader. And if your brain goes, oh my God, cannibalism and slavery and cattle, it's like, good. That's the intended effect. And if you still don't get that, I mean, it's like, then put the book down and never read it. Like, this is not for you. If once you read it and you go, oh, I get it. They wanted to show what would happen if the world descended into cannibalism, which is the whole point of the premise. Then you go, I get it now. I could read the story.
The whole, I feel offended by this. Remove it. It reminds me of Games Workshop and their fucking British attitude towards slavery, like sex slavery in Warhammer Fantasy, where it was very, well, not even very, it was mentioned from early fantasy. Like, there was this race called the Femir, the you players, who would have only males and must parasitize off of human women. And that's the only way they can, like, reproduce, as they only have one infertile female that's the caster of the army. And they didn't survive 2 editions. They had one edition and then got deleted.
It's basically the inverse of the Gerudo in Zelda.
Yeah. And then there was the Beastmen, who had a sex trafficking tribe in 4th edition. They got shit canned as well. Because people didn't like the idea of, Beastmen being overtly evil towards women. Instead, you had stories of beasts, kidnapping princesses and cutting their heads off on stumps. Like, yeah, that sure sounds like something that you want to read about, and feels completely natural. It feels like the minimum step when you're portraying the literal embodiment of evil. It's like, oh yeah, they kill people. Thanks for that.
But not women.
No, they kill the women. They don't do anything, you want to do with a woman if you're evil and your entire thing is reproducing through other people.
No, if you ultimate evil can do anything, but not to women.
Oh, that's a good point. And I think it is I want to say there is an inherent bias in the Western urban mindset in regards to that, especially when it comes to women. Because as I pointed out earlier. Long as it's the bad guy doing it to her or doing it to other people, it's fine. But if it's a good guy saving people from it, then bad.
But how can you have anyone saving when it's not allowed? So that means the bad guy can't even do it.
That was the whole thing D&D was getting into trouble over. Is having rules for buying slaves, despite having several modules built around the idea of a slave uprising.
How can you have a slave uprising without slaves?
That's a good question. They didn't answer that. They just removed slavery entirely and only mentions slavery.
We'll put it back in.
But the illithid. The whole concept is around enslaving people with mind parasites.
They're servants now. They're not slaves.
Oh God! What about a drow? They have a matriarchal society
Servants.
that enslaves its.
Nope. The men.
Indentured servitude.
No, it's not even an indentured servitude. It's the men allow it now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
So it's
right,
not.
yeah.
It's not Dungeons and Dragons. It's now Dungeons and Sims.
Sims in dungeons.
Okay. Anyway.
Sim Finder.
Anyway, yes. D&D has definitely seen better days. Anyway, let us keep going with this video.
Right, sorry.
Women in general was just so icky that I could not possibly recommend the show to anyone. Another isekai called How a Realist Hero
Icky.
Without
Just-
Kingdom also has a plotline.
I bet you were just intimidated by the cup sizes.
This is one of my favorite isekais per se, so I want to know what the hell this is such a good story. It's so well thought out, so I want to know what the hell she thinks of this, because there's very few criticisms you could throw at this.
Wanting to abolish slavery. This show makes some interesting points about the more realistic barriers there are to abolishing slavery. For example, the hero, Soma, has to consider the economic and political implications of ending the slave trade. Soma really emphasizes
Which you
how
never
he
did
sees
in any of
slavery
the
as a
others.
violation of human rights and a total abomination. But he can't end it outright because he fears that he'll be putting the country on the brink of civil war if he does anything too drastic. Now, this
would
seems
happen
really
in any
noble of
other.
him, until you remember that one time 3 episodes ago when he defeats an enemy of his and literally turns her into his slave as a punishment.
Yeah, yes, there's a very good reason for this in the manga. I don't know how it's depicted in the anime, for her and her father to be slaves because they were literal enemies of the crown.
They have devil horns. They have devil wings.
This is completely explained. Like there's a whole ramification for this. There's a whole plan behind this, and of course she never paid attention to it or bothered to read
It
it.
was common practice to keep family members of the defeated nobles as trophy, basically, and
Or as
raise them in
ransom.
your household.
Well, in this case, he allows the daughter to live so that the father listens to his demands because there's a plan in action he doesn't know, so he has to keep it on the down. It's not.
That's literally ransom. Like that's what
Yes.
ransoming was.
Yeah, this is nothing evil. It's just, listen, we could have killed you, but you're still a servant of the kingdom, even though you had a lapse in judgment. We're going to use your air force. We're going to use your resources to do other things. And then it turns out, if you guys ever read the story, this was put in motion way before this came into play, because the guy who started this sacrificed himself, per se, for this to happen, because the nobles were so corrupt, everything had to go. And this is specifically talked about, the one in The Prince, the Machiavellian book, about you only show your evil side once, and where you kill your enemies, and then you never do it again. You have to do it once, and it has to be complete, and it has to eliminate all of your enemies all at once, and everyone has to know about it, because this is this horrible thing. And that's what happens. And it happens much later in the story. So it's a beautiful setup. And if you don't like stories with intricate plots and characters and plans and mystery, that's fine. But to say, oh my God, he's enslaving this girl, it's like, yeah, and she would never kill her because she's the best friend of the woman he's marrying. And she's like, no, we can't kill her. It's like, yeah, I agree. I don't want to kill her anyway. It's not my way. Well, we can use her to our advantage. Like, oh, I get it. And she eventually, she ends up becoming a maid and helping. She ends up falling in love. No, she doesn't fall in love with the prince, but she respects him because he ends up having 3 wives, I think. So this is very, like, everything in this story is very well thought out, and he does it from the perspective of history and social theory, because he was studying that in university.
Yeah.
So
I think her main problem is simply with the word slavery, a bureaucratic status, that this word was not used like this before the Moors, an Islamic group, took the peninsula of Iberia, today Spain, and occupied it for about 600 years. They imported Slavs to Iberia. Those Slavs made up the majority of the Iberian slaves. That's where the word comes from. So before that happened, so it's basically an Islamic coined term. Yet you complain about Westerners and slavery all the time. You never talk about Islam and slavery. The thing is,
we had Western soft equivalents like the Tala, which I described earlier, where it's like, yeah, they're like slaves, but they're also indentured servitude, and you're also supposed to respect them. Like, you're supposed to have their whole families if possible, and you're supposed to free them when they're paid off their worth, and then give them like cash and food so they can make their own lives, whatnot.
Yeah, because the word slavery is just slammed onto all these different types of
Indentured servitude.
Yes, if you want to say want to use that term instead, because there's dozens upon dozens of variants of relationships, legal bindings that all play out differently. Some better, some worse. And this here is certainly very different from a sex slave in a cage. These two are not equal.
all right, let's keep going.
Weirdly out of place scene where the same woman who was just turned into a slave is talking about how she was whipped as a punishment, but it's played off as some kind of joke.
That woman, she whipped me like with a real whip. It didn't leave a mark on me, though the lashes burned.
Oh,
my
wait a
skin
minute,
like
this is
fire.
the dub.
Whip is
That's
love.
cheating.
And
Yeah, this is the dub. I don't remember this at all.
That's fucking cheating.
The maid is rather aggressive, but I don't think that's like a. This is not like she's not in jail getting slashed like with the on a rack or anything. No, she's just a strict maid.
Also, can you turn it back like 2 seconds? I want to hear what the maid's retort does.
As a punishment. There's also this weirdly out of place scene where the same woman who was just turned into a slave is talking about how she was whipped as a punishment, but it's played off as some kind of joke.
that woman, she whipped me like with a real whip. It didn't leave a mark on me, though the lashes burned my skin like fire. The whip is love, and love must be accepted.
Okay, so we're 0 for 3. So we've
So the whip she used against the devil is a whip of love, and it burned her skin and it left no mark. I think the joke here is that she's a fucking devil, if anything. So she looks like a dragon.
She's also a pussy, because a whip that leaves no mark. Well, that didn't hit you very hard, did it?
At that point, it's a fucking slap.
It sounds more like one of these whips you use in BDSM scenes.
Even those. I see your point.
Anyway, this is one of my favorite stories in manga. It's it's so well thought out. The comedy is very brief, and that specific scene I don't even remember because I never watched the dub. But it's so, like, this is a brilliant story with nuance. And again, he could have killed these people, but instead he uses them for leverage. And of course, that's the girl. Her name is Carla, the girl with the wings. She's one of the best friends of the woman he's marrying. So of course he wouldn't kill her. And they make sure they treat her well. It's just the way the maid, slaps her around. Like, hey, you got duties to perform. You're no longer a princess. Time to wisen up. Because he just fought off a rebellion and she was part of it. So Yeah, I think that's a pretty good deal.
So she went to war, lost, and now she's bitching about suffering the consequences of her actions. Gee, a woman that gets angry about another woman being punished for suffering the consequences of her actions. We haven't seen this one before.
Could you be any more stereotypical, please?
And it's played off for laughs, in case you didn't notice the music in the background and her being scared of the maid who is just some lady when she's clearly more stronger or more powerful than her. Anyway,
I like to think that the whip was, since it burned the devil's skin, was made of holy water.
Yeah. She's not an evil creature. She's just a different person.
It's a dragon.
The dragon lady, yeah. She can fly. She has there's land, sea, and air forces. Her dad was in charge of the Air Force. So it's just, good. Yeah, they use giant creatures to fly. It's really cool. They use cannons and all kinds of cool stuff. But the great thing about that story is he converts the bumper crops to food, because all the rich were selling cotton, but everyone was starving. So it's like, what the hell are you doing? We're growing food, damn it! Like, okay, fine. And he saves.
Self-regulation leaves marks, by the way.
Well, he saves the forest for the elves by teaching them how to deforest the land so it doesn't destroy itself, like absorbing all the nutrients of the soil, so it causes all this rainfall or all the soil to be degraded. And the elf chick, who's not too bright but really good warrior, falls in love with him. He's like, oh my god, you gave us this technique for saving our forest. It's like, yeah,
Electrolytes.
Don't let the forest eat itself, because there's too dense trees that haven't been cut yet, which is a basic logging technique. But,
electrolytes.
I don't know. Do trees need electrolytes?
It's what the plants crave.
Oh god. Anyway.
Has a bad habit of trying to turn the hero into a sympathetic slave owner, and even in isekai where the hero is opposed to slavery, the subject matter isn't always handled with nuance. I think
yes and yes. What are you talking about? Every single story I've ever read with a hero who gets a slave or saves a slave treats them very well, if not more so, because he's from Japan, and they go, oh, I gotta treat this adorable little kid as a person, and they do.
So, taking the claim slavery is the greatest violation of human rights in human history, if we take that at face value, is communism then the greatest slave system that has ever existed and still exists? Because it will imprison you in your own country, and you will be a slave to the state, because if you disobey the state, you come in any way, even by thinking about it, to disagree with anything the state says, because that would be politically incorrect, you get punished severely. Would that be the greatest slavery system? I'm satisfied with the so for now.
All right.
it's about evidence and start wrapping up this trial.
Why is this the loudest part of your video?
And now, ladies, gentlemen, and degenerates of the jury, it's time for me to make my closing argument and address the final and most important question of all. Who cares if there's slavery in Isekai? Sure, slavery is morally wrong, and a human rights violation, and misogynistic, and honestly pretty cringe.
Slavery goes universal against both sexes. So it's also misandrist, which means it's irrelevant to call it misogynistic.
Where did the misogyny come from? Is it because all the Isekai protagonists have a harem?
Because they rather save girls than boys? Man, that's so unusual in human history
it's
as well,
so weird.
isn't it?
Why would we do that?
It's also weird that most of the places that the protagonist is sent to, most of the slaves, if not all the slaves, are women.
I wonder why.
Gee, I don't know how humans work. I don't know.
How dare there are bad people?
I cannot comprehend this concept. Let us just keep going.
Of pathetic or morally gray topics. It has violence and murder and brothers obsessed with their sisters and sisters obsessed with their brothers and whatever the heck this is, and worst of all, hand-holding. So why make a
come
big
on,
stink
that
about
last
slavery?
thing-
I don't want to watch that one time I got reincarnated as a slave trader in another world. It's not like I'm being duct taped to a chair and forced to watch it. Nothing stopping me from turning it off and watching Pingu for the 432nd time. God, that penguin is wise beyond his years. But the way slavery is handled in Isekai is a symptom of a greater issue.
Oh, here we go. What is this?
We get into the final 2 or 3 minutes.
What
The
is-
Super's Insanity
What is
coming.
this? Oh, the meta-narrative of slavery depicts that Japan is not as advanced as we thought. It's like, oh,
Meta-narrative of Pingu slavery.
this is...
We live in a patriarchy.
This
The
is...
walrus patriot.
I'm having a big brain thought. Oh, maybe there's a message behind why is Japan doing...
Don't check out that a lot of these isekai manga and novels are written by women.
Well, we got this. What's that crazy scene with the guy with all the red string, and he's like trying to paint the picture of how the mail works. And it's like, okay, dude, you're reading way too far into a guy's or girl's author's or mangaka's ideas for a fantasy setting to be fun and cool and believable. That's all that's happening. It has nothing to do with feudalism in Japan or its influence on the East or West or whatever. It's just people writing stories that other people like reading. That's it.
Isekai genre has become oversaturated with generic, self-insert power fantasies made to sell as much manga or as many...
So has most any adventure story almost ever. Unless you want to go back to
Look for anime
1910.
manga that at least is written well enough that it makes money, but the self-insert power fantasy shit in Western media, in Hollywood, in Marvel, in DC, in comics, in Western video games, is so bad that it doesn't make money because your female power fantasies are fucking atrocious and unbearable.
Yeah, there's reasons why Isekai is popular because it checks off lots of boxes that make sense to the average person of this generation, which grew up on cartoons, video games, movies. And you're like, wow, it has a little bit of everything that someone can go, oh, this reminds me of a comic book. This reminds me of an adventure story. This reminds me of a fantasy I might have had growing up as a kid. What if I could fly? What if I was sent to a magical land where I could grow up like I had a level, a status box telling me, oh, you need this many more points to become stronger. That's a cool fantasy. It's not necessarily a power fantasy. But in certain scenarios, in certain stories, they do have the overpowered character and how he deals with that power. But that's not indicative of the isekai genre. You can get that from, read Conan the Barbarian. It's anything that has a hero character rising in power. So,
yeah, and the real power fantasy of women, the good one, the positive one, aside from being seductive, which is just the extreme of wanting to be adored, is being a strong support. That's what all the women want to be. They want to be strong supports. Whether that manifests into the tame the beast, I can change him thing, that is also a support thing. Not just the bad version of that would be I want to mind control everyone. The positive one is the I will heal him.
that's the
He
standard,
will be a better person because of me.
That's the standard sex fantasy of most women, or most romance stories for women.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're not even. Oh, no, we're almost at the 2-minute mark.
And because Shield Hero and other shows with slaves had some success, including slavery, became a part of the isekai.
No, that has nothing to do with it. It could have been a story without slavery. It wouldn't make a difference. It just works for the setting. It's a medieval fantasy setting.
She only knows things that came out while she was alive.
This is silly. This is like if you set up a medieval or Dark Ages setting or time frame where there could be magic and technology in different proportions, ancient civilizations or whatever. It makes sense that you're going to have human resources. in various depictions of, let's say, a giant golem, like a magician can summon a golem, you could do all his work for him. Or if you don't have magic, you buy a slave, because there are people who have been disturbed from their natural habitat. Maybe there was a war. They're still alive. They can't survive. What do? They become slaves, unfortunately. And they go through that. Like this, the one in the middle is definitely a power fantasy, but he was cursed by the goddess to be ugly and to have the attraction of demons and creatures. And he can speak their language, but no, he can't speak human language. Everything's like antithetical to humans. And the story just is this massive power trip where he's so strong, but he doesn't know how to control it. He has all this magic seeping out of him. And he has these two, like the girl on the left, she's a giant demon spider. But she's so enamored by him because he smells good. His blood smells good or whatever. And the girl on the right, you can't really see her head. She's a dragon. Again, another shape-shifting person. So the story, I don't even remember this. I don't even think there is slavery in there. But they depict the demons as the things to be hunted down, even though they're intelligent and moral and good creatures. And all the beasts pretty much are, but the humans treat them differently.
General question, Lalle. You mentioned in D&D they're all servants now. Then they're not slaves anymore. Isn't someone forced into servitude? Isn't that just a slave?
Yes, but it's the word slave that'll get you less ESG money.
So it's just they changed the words and now it's good.
Yeah, or just deleted mentions of it.
But it's still the same mechanics.
Some places, other places where it's a part of the background, such as with the 1T, where the whole thing is capturing people and turning them into more 1T, they just removed that whole aspect of their culture about slavery and sacrifice. They just deleted.
That is just so dumb. Yeah, but if you just rename it, but you still have the same mechanics, then it's really just brain dead. That is just being afraid of a word, but you don't understand the actual concept that you are complaining about. And I think Jay Jameson nailed it in the chat. He said, a feature of feudal society. It's like complaining about castles.
Well, it's funny that he mentions feudalism, because I've been playing a lot of Mountain Blade recently, and they do slavery really well. And in Bannerlord, they just try to say, yeah, slavery was cool like 300 years ago, but we're having to do ransom brokering now, because people prefer happy servants. But families, they'll happily pay for their families to come back, especially if they're recognized officers. Hell, it's a bonus if you sell them back to them, because then they can use that person if they were high up in the rankings. They can use them as status symbol when they come back to town.
Yeah, I actually know.
And the only place in the setting where slaves are quote-unquote accepted is as ship rowers, and even those are getting phased out because there's better ways to acquire people that are willing to work loyally.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember all these stories, because Death March is such a weird, big story that it doesn't... I think there might be slavery there, but there's so many characters, and he's just building a family of girls, and he doesn't touch any of them. Like, he just does not care, despite their affections to him. He's just saving people. He's cooking, he's traveling, and he's selling stuff. That's all he does. And then he encounters, like, I don't know, the elven princess who's part of some plot, and he has to take care of that. Like, slavery might be there, but it is maybe 2% of the story, and everything else is about the journey he's going on, which is it's a weird journey because it doesn't make too much sense. But that's kind of the fun of it. He's like, what is this crazy journey this guy is going on? Not, oh, there's a girl who likes him because he's like, he has all these weapons, but he doesn't care. He just sells stuff. He cooks. All the girls love him because he cooks well, and he gets his skills up because he cook. Like, this is a typical slow life isekai story, but there happens to be a little bit of combat here and there, a little bit of mercantile selling and buying of stuff. And then he manufactures like healing potions one time. Like, it's like, that's it. Who cares? Oh, slavery bad story. Everyone's doing it. Sure.
Let's call it something else you won't notice.
Yeah.
Consider the recently airing isekai In Another World with My Smartphone.
Oh God, why would you watch that?
Oh God, no.
I don't.
Wait,
That's under a 7.
First off, I could barely read the thing, let alone want to watch it. But okay, it's bad not because of slavery. It's bad because the story sucks.
Yeah, and apparently the anime is getting a second.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Why?
If you guys try and read that and get through 5 of those things, good luck. I mean,
I watched.
Chapters or volumes?
no actual
Panels?
no one book, 2 books, so five comics. Read 5
One
comics.
book, 2 books.
It's boring. It's dumb. It's nothing. It's really nothing new you haven't seen before, and it's so milquetoast. It's like, ugh, I don't care about any of these characters. Anyway, that was like years ago when I tried to read that thing.
Unbearably mid that the entire anime community, and 4chan degenerates alike, came together in solidarity to collectively agree that it is a shameless, soulless cash grab created for the sole purpose of pandering to the largest possible audience to make as much money as it can. Anime, just like many other industries, needs money to survive. But lately it seems like we're lurching closer and closer to creative bankruptcy.
No,
that's just normal. There's always shit. There's always shit coming out. Like everyone's favorite isekai cheat magician.
There's
That one's decent. That one actually has an interesting character arc.
What?
The rest,
How could you watch so many episodes that something started to be interesting? How could you stomach that?
I've watched worse.
yeah, there are much worse. Yeah.
There is worse, yes, but I would not call if you call that decent, your bar is already very low and was dragged down by all the really shit things.
The manga was manageable. I didn't watch the anime. It does have some good action.
My bar remains further up.
All right.
I like it there.
I read everything.
It's much
so-
more comfortable, much farther view to the horizon.
Anyway, 2 minutes. Here we go.
More painfully mediocre isekai harems to sell body pills or profit margins. For every gem with a unique art style, interesting premise, and compelling story, there are 10 cliche isekai.
What the hell was Ranking of Kings? Does anyone know?
Isn't that the
No.
one you called? I could have sworn you thought that one was cool.
I've seen that. I've seen Ranking
Alright.
of Kings. It's just a fantasy story with a kid who's like, I'm going to help my dad rule the kingdom.
It's all right.
I would recommend.
There's always mediocre shit.
Yeah.
Without the mediocre shit, there's not gonna be any good shit.
I would recommend How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom way over anything I've read in Isekai. I maybe have a top 5, but if you want an intelligent character who's logistically trying to figure out how to fix a kingdom from economic standpoint, it's like, oh, this, like, the writer thought it out. It's like, thank you, writer, for using your brain. And having all these politics involved, because there's multiple kingdoms and they all want power, and he's like, well, let's not go to war, let's invent stuff. And like, he's not doing crazy stuff, but I think he's using the communication stones to do broadcasts to tell the people of the kingdom what's going on. It's like, oh, that's great. So he's doing little things, and obviously he's sort of revolutionizing how they grow crops with crop rotation, because no one's doing that. So he's trying to make money. He's trying to feed the people. He's trying to protect them. And they go through the detail of how that works, as well as the coup that happens. As you see that the guy in the top left is the guy that gets enslaved with the horns. So it's so well thought. And he keeps referencing Machiavelli. It's always a brilliant idea to reference a philosopher or someone in history and say, well, this is what happened, and this is what I'm going to do because of that, what a lesson that we learned, which shows you have an intelligent, at least well-read character to quote people who teach you about what you're trying to do, like rule a kingdom. So can't say much about the smartphone story. Don't know the one on the right, and the other one on the left, I don't know. Hard to. I think I probably watched that though. But anyway, there's plenty of good stories out there whether your focus is on action or intellect or drama or comedy. And if you want the darker stories, they're there. Obviously, this YouTuber cannot appreciate those because rape is such a horrific thing. And I don't know what slavery has done to her, which of her ancestors were, affected that she can remember. But, I don't know. People just cannot stomach certain things. I don't know why.
I know I'm not the only one who has preached this hot take, but I'd rather add my voice to the choir than sit back and watch generic isekai clone itself until my entire Crunchyroll suggestion page is filled with variations of the same show.
Send her over the plank now.
That's a you problem.
Crunchyroll.
Yeah, pretty much. Stop watching Crunchyroll.
You are a normie.
Yeah, you are pretty much. I get my anime from Crunchyroll. It's like, really? I don't.
Well, you get it from Crunchyroll. I'll just stay right there. I'll help you with that.
Tourists.
Yeah, well, I always recommend reading the manga first, and if you like the manga, there may be an anime adaptation. There's some pretty bad anime adaptations out there, and I don't know why they exist. I don't know how the business pitch came to get some of these things made, but they exist, and they're stupid, but people watch them. So anyway,
over again. Okay, so maybe none of the arguments I made today would actually hold up in a court of law. But I've done my best to present my case, and it's up to each member of the jury to decide whether they think slavery has a place in isekai. And by jury, I mean anime viewers and consumers everywhere. Anime studios keep making generic slave-owning isekai because so far, that has been what helped them turn a profit.
No! It's not the slave-owning isekai genre. What are you talking about? That's just...
the slave-owning isekai, and she brings up shows which barely involve slaves.
This is dumb.
She's acting as if it's the main thing.
The slave isekai genre. Thank you, woman. Thank you for this insanity.
Has slavery any place in fictional storytelling ever at all anywhere? That's a real question, and the answer is yes, because it's a thing like any other.
When do we get an isekai into the African slave trade?
Yeah. I want a story that is dominantly about slaves fighting other slaves, like in a Pokemon scenario, and then they
Pal World.
Yeah, Pal World. Literally Pal World.
Is that slaves fighting slaves?
That is, oh my god!
Stop being slaves and be my slaves. All right.
But for reference,
it is
in Pokemon, you can in Pokemon you can throw a Pokeball at a human, and it just says you can't do that. Or in Pal World, if you beat a human, you can just throw the Pokeball at them and turn them into a slave, even bosses.
Which is just law accurate to Pokemon, because in Pokemon, humans are Pokemon.
So if you see that cute girl in the street, you know what you can do.
Basically what you're doing on. It's just that you use a Master Ball.
Well, the only thing I saw was the Pirate Software short YouTube clip of what Pal World was. It was a guy with a musket shooting a Pokemon. Like, that's Pal World. I'm like, what?
Yeah, it's Pokemon with guns. And that was literally the pitch, because the developer thought, Westerners, the Americans, they really like guns, so let's add guns.
And they like ugly characters, so let's make ugly character options.
That's because the SJWs have built the stereotype that for some reason Westerners like ugly women, which is not true. But they speak for the entire West in the eyes of Japan. This is why we need to stop them. It's what they do about every group in existence. Blacks, gays, women, trans, whatever. That's why they make everyone look horrible. So the Japanese now believe that all we people in the West, we like ugly women. That's why they made ugly women in Pal World. My fucking god. But the real problem is that to end this tangent, Pal World is the Pokemon game that Nintendo should have given us 20 years ago. They had 20 years time making this and they didn't. They were lazy. That's the entire problem.
All right.
Oh, we're almost done with this video. Let's go.
Yeah.
There that do it better. Anime like Vinland Saga, a critically acclaimed show about Vikings, which spent basically its entire second season showing the dehumanizing and
Vinland Saga was.
Do you mean
the
the
second
same-
season was horrible.
Do you mean the same show in which like no, it's like the 4th or 5th episode where the main character just lets his guys rape a village that just saved him from death and then joins them in the raping?
Wait,
That one?
Yeah, that happened.
what the fuck?
I remember one of my friends showing me that, and I'm like, yeah, I get who this is appealing to, but me personally, yeah, this is fucking itchy bullshit. I don't care for it.
It's just It's supposed to be historical fiction.
Yeah, it's historical fiction, sure. Fuck off.
Vinland Saga had its moments, but overall, it could have been so much better.
I don't think it could. I refuse to believe that it could have.
I don't think
inherently
this author
this-
could have made it better. That's
The author started out with, okay, I want to get to this point, but to get there, he had to write this entire bullshit, and you could feel that. Fuck me, can you feel that? Well, how hard
Yeah.
that show drags.
yeah.
Such a boring show that puts in spicy shit just to keep you awake.
You didn't have to rape the village after getting saved. What was the point of that?
Otherwise, you'd be falling asleep, like I did.
I think
Anyway.
I only liked it when it came out because it was the alternative to Attack on Titan,
Yeah, there's
and
different.
it positively stood against that.
Stuck between a rock and a German.
What a reason to watch an anime. It's that or Attack on Titan.
There's a difference between tapping me on the shoulder to awaken me and then fucking stabbing me in the hand going like, "Oi, Mike, get the fuck up! There's a fucking brouhaha going down here." It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but compared to Attack on Titan, this was amazing. This was Shakespeare.
Oh, God. Anyway, okay. 1 minute.
There's also the 1999 anime Now and Then, Here and There, a haunting
Okay.
Stomach
dystopian
that?
nightmare about child soldiers, which emphasizes the repercussions of war and is not for the faint of heart.
So what does that have to do with
Yeah,
slavery?
Now and Then, Here and There starts with raping a little girl.
She can handle the rape of the little girl, but she can't handle a fucking dark cave where 2 goblins you can barely see committing a rape scene. Oh, okay.
It is slavery in that world, and there's not much you can do about it.
So I don't, like, war is okay?
That's not. Oh, but slavery is not spelled out. The word isn't used in Now and Then, Here and There.
You know what's
And
even
I think
worse?
that's the point. It's not the word isn't used, so she doesn't get it.
You know what's even worse about Now and Then, Here and There? Like her mentioning it? It's a fucking metaphor for the Rwandan genocide.
Oh fuck.
The entire show is just the Rwandan genocide.
I never thought about that.
It's like it's got all the tropes, everything in it,
Bloody hell.
and all the horrors therein. And everyone's just like, oh yes, it's so beautiful. Like, fuck me, at least acknowledge what is, obviously not even ripping on what it's based off of.
It's so beautiful. You could hear the screams of the people getting slaughtered.
You could hear that you can hear that child struggle for her life as those women cut her down while taking advantage of her.
Like fluffy pillows in the meadowy fields.
Shut up.
Anyway.
Credited as one of the greatest animated movies of all time
What?
due to its impressive voice cast, amazing animation, characters, cinematography.
So the themes of war, that's okay. That's fine. Slavery, fine. When it's this one. Because other people like it. Tell me why. Why is it
War is
okay?
okay unless you take slaves.
This
is what I take from this.
Oh, the music's so good. Everyone else loves all the cinematography. Therefore, it's a good anime. It's the best of all time. And it has rape and murder and war and slavery. And you're like, well, so do these other stories. Like every isekai has some war going on. There's some slavery, of course, as she said. Some of them are adult. but because everyone else likes it, it's not a very good way of arguing against or for something. Everyone else likes it, guys. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Score. A film that just encapsulates everything that...
Prince of Egypt doesn't count as an anime.
But it's too...
No, it's not an anime.
What the fuck?
It's a 1998 DreamWorks movie.
I recognize the council has made a decision, but given that it's a stupid-ass decision, I've elected to
What the
ignore
hell
it.
happened?
What's going on?
She brought up Prince of Egypt because it depicts slavery.
Deliver us.
But it still had slavery.
It's quasi-historical in a way, somewhat-ish. This bint can't be helped.
All right. Well, I got a big comment to send her. I only do that because the comments are all positive. It's like, okay, something's wrong. This is
Queer subtext and symbolism in Skate the Infinity. Oh my god.
That's only in the dub.
He's one of those.
Literally only in the dub. Because the localizers changed all the relationships.
What?
Yep. The localizers for Skate the Infinity changed all the relationships.
All right. Anyway, let's get to some of the memes. And I don't know who this character is, but she's a hot chick in chains. Women aren't funny. Oh, dear. What we got here? Oh, it's Megatron. What do you know of slavery?
Thank you, Megatron.
Here we got, I've played Call of Duty.
Oh, didn't you start quite a bit lower, or were you just going as we were talking?
January 29th.
Oh, it goes higher.
I missed stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's stuff for the girl.
Oh.
It start with Dr. Chrisman.
Oh, dear.
It starts with Plasma Rotom.
God, that's a lot of memes.
There we go.
Holy shit.
Sees Lol's new avatar. Oh my goodness, Lol, what's wrong with your face? All right. Chores, slavery. Corporate needs you to find the difference. 8-year-olds, they're the same picture. Har har. Never owned a slave, but knows the story of how Africans sold other Africans into slavery. Okay.
Yeah, what's the joke?
I have a dream.
It's not wrong. It's what many black supremacists dream about.
Okay. Here we go. Egyptians were black. Egyptians enslaved the Jews. Whites invented slavery. Reparations. Oh. Missouri. Wait, all Union states were against slavery. Missouri, Kennedy, Delaware, and Maryland. Not the Democratic states. 9/11 was 20 years ago. Let it go. You mean like that slavery shit? Yeah. Wage slavery is exploitation. See, nobody cares. That's a good point. When will we take down these monuments of slavery?
Ooh.
I'd like to see you try. See how far you get when the Egyptian government takes your ass and buries it.
I mean,
in
the plaster is off already.
Well, I know. Yeah, you would deface a wonder of the world. That'd be crazy.
Oh, you mean like shooting off the nose of the Sphinx?
Well, nowadays that'd get you killed. Yeah. The Oni sign over there. Oh, there it is. Oi, time to get Isekai.
It's Truckatron. It's not
Truckatron.
Truckatron.
It's Oi. It's an Austrian or Australian truck. The elves had water. Oh, jeez, dark elves. High elves. Oh, jeez.
Told you, all elves are racist.
Boy, the sound of that whip sure is sweet. It's like Jesus gently snapping his fingers. Oh my god.
Thank you, Ruckus.
What is happening?
Why are you trying to make clothes at the soup store?
Is that soup? Oh my god. When you accidentally caused genocide of the elves. Did I do that? Okay. Flying the Confederate flag on your trucks, like, don't you know you lost the war? And it's okay. YTuber, what are these stories trying to say about the hero taking these slaves and putting them in harems? Me, better question. Why are you looking really deep into them? Well, you would argue that they looked at them. I don't think they looked very deep. I think they had a surface level understanding. And they saw slavery and went, it's bad. It must be a bad story.
There was not even the sliver of a deep thought.
Hey, you can't support slavery? Isekai MC? No, not to worry, I have a permit. When in Rome, do as the Romans. Okay.
It's not wrong. It means abide by the law.
Yeah, I know. Just the original depiction in this show was different. You're a slave. I'm a starship, and my name is Boba Fett. Okay.
Slave 1. That's the name of the ship.
That's the joke. Okay. That's your ship outside, right? Oh, yes. Slave 1. She's mine. Wait, you want a slave? You're in a violation of the Republic anti-slavery laws and under arrest. Wait, it's not technically mine. It's Boba Fett's starship. Really? Thanks, Dad. They don't understand the concept of a master-slave and computers? All right.
Uh-huh. Oh, no, that had to be renamed too because the SJWs got a hissy fit.
Really?
They complained about master and slave systems in Congress.
Oh.
Yeah. That, and they also renamed ship from Slave 1 something K.
It's literally just Boba Fett's ship.
Yeah.
That's what they renamed it to. It doesn't even have a name anymore.
They didn't even try.
Yeah.
Talk about erasure.
Yeah. Well, let me get right down to it then. Like yourself, I am also in the slave trade. All right. Rocking the Frank Sinatra look. Kinda.
Thomas Jefferson getting the family portrait done.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, I'm not going to read that.
Why are you not going to read that one?
It's too small. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yep. Ah.
That's a lot of words.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch that. Read that later. Enough.
I will hear no more of this Hebrew nonsense.
And this is where I
The
started.
movie could have been longer.
Does anyone know what this is? It looks familiar. I just can't.
It looks familiar. I don't know what it's from, though.
Yeah. Women aren't funny. I think they're funny.
Now, women can be funny, but they can't be funny.
All right. Rotom, objection, bitch. Just because you've played Ace Attorney does not make you an attorney. That's like saying because I've Call of Duty, that makes me an USAF. Okay.
Get back to work.
There it is. Oh, jeez. Well, about time for me to be hitting the old dusty trail. I couldn't find Mike's headshot icon in the stream meme resources. Does he have one? Mike, do you have a head icon?
I think I have one. Now.
If you do,
probably have it in resources.
Go right ahead, sir. Thank you, sir. Warriors. Oh, okay. Smudcast. I think I found the first American Otherworld. I mean, yeah, it's shit and got weird kangaroo people, but still. Oh, not the series that was last year, but the Warriors. No, I don't know that one.
What? Is that
Warriors of Virtue?
Isn't that Ginga's old avatar?
That's Ginga.
That is Ginga. Yeah, exactly. He's a fan of FF2 or FF4 rather. When you open a cage in a syndicate camp, you have freed us. Well, I wouldn't say freed, more like under new management. They think they have a good union, but they don't. They're basically slaves.
Yep. That's how it works.
First of all, this sounds like the work of effeminate men and possibly even women. Oh, want to give a shout out to York, William Clark's slave, who accompanied his master on Lewis and Clark's expedition. This dude legit swam up the sandbank to get their veggies for dinner, nearly lost an eye and died of fatigue, but he kept on trucking on the side of the journey for the sake of the journey. Okay. Cool. 40K was mentioned. Have a Nerf gun painted to look like a bolter. Okay, cool.
Nice. Sweet.
What do we got here? This lady seems to be falling into the deception equals promotion fallacy. Depiction equals promotion fallacy.
You forgot
Yeah.
the argument.
It's a
Yeah,
bit
well,
weird.
it's not wrong.
I would say her bias was way too strong for her to even understand what the depiction was. Because as soon as slavery, rape, it's a bad story. I can't stomach it. When these stories have these scenes, these individual pages of horrific events to uplift the hero for the point of, wow, what a great guy. I'm glad he saved the day. You forgot the argument? She was mostly on topic, which was good. It's just that
She was on topic, but she made no argument. She just said showing it bad.
yeah, it was like just because the show had it, therefore it's a bad isekai or a bad story. Wisp, regarding that little speech you gave on Civil War revisionism, I get the feeling that these weirdos we hate, well, we don't hate them, are trying to make fiction more morally gray, but real-world history black and white. Would you agree?
Somewhat, yeah. You could say that. Because the goal of you see this every time socialism comes about or is in effect, the actual crime of anything is going to be brushed aside, like real violent crime, and thought crime is going to be punished really, really, really hard. And we already kind of see that.
I would say the opposite in this case, because she just saw anything that she didn't like as just bad.
Yeah, but that's the thought crime. Don't show the thing.
But
Don't show the
then she
idea.
showed anime she liked, which also had war and slavery, and I was like, what is happening here?
That's just the standard hypocrisy.
Oh. The age of consent in the United States, 16 all over, 18, 17, yeah, it's all over the place. It's all different. Japan, it's what, 15?
I didn't know there was so many states with 16.
It's
Fucking you step out of Florida, it's like 16, 16, 16, 16.
Wow.
Oh no, why does she hate sex? My money's on she hasn't gotten any recently. I think it's more than that. I think if she even had sex, I don't
Considering she jumped to 4chan, Tumblr, and SJWs, I imagine it's the stint.
I don't think she gets enough sex is the problem.
The Familiar of Zero, Night of the Twin Moons. I don't even know what that is.
You've never seen Familiar of Zero?
No.
It's a 90s isekai.
Yeah, that's probably what. But yeah, the argument here from the poster is if the genders were switched, she'd be okay with it. And this is...
Don't use that title. That's the wrong title.
Which is the title?
It's the new title is Chained Soldier. The actual title is Slave of the Magical Capital's Elite Troop.
Yeah.
I actually read a few of that. It was interesting, if a little suggestive, but I thought it was pretty good.
The blue-haired girl on the left looks like the adult version of Bookworm.
Yeah. She does.
It's a weird story. It is a little like, okay, you use slaves to fight like Pokemon. Like, all right, cool.
Just one dude is the slave, though.
Pokedex entries on Salazzle?
Salazzle.
For some reason, only females have been found. It creates a reverse harem of male Salandit that it lives with. Salazzle makes its opponents lightheaded with poisonous gas, then captivates them with alluring movements to turn them into loyal servants. My, what a sexy refrigerator you are. Back up, lady, back up. Stranger danger. All right. Yeah.
Was this Pokemon made by a furry?
No.
Probably. There's a lot of suggestive Pokemon, though.
Okay, the pinnacle definition of a feral housewife, whatever that is, and it's within a slave isekai called Reincarnation Coliseum, using the weakest skill in order to defeat the strongest woman and create a slave harem. Yes, I've read that. She's like the second one he fights, I think.
Yeah.
The meme picture below is great.
Yeah, everyone else is like, no,
I
no,
love
no, no.
that.
You guys remember that? Was that 2 years ago or 3 years ago? I can't remember when it happened. That guy would not shut up.
Legacy, you made a really good meme this time.
What is your third wish, Master? My final wish is to undo the impacts of slavery.
Shit.
There's a female version of that. That is even more funny.
Okay. Speaking of cat girls, Capcom make Darkstalkers 4. I need to figure out what happened to Felicia after she became a nun, and most importantly, whether Jeddah killed Dimitri, and what happened with Donovan and Anit. See, this is funny because
you don't want Capcom to make anything right now.
Yeah.
They are under ideological possession.
Well, I'm just curious that people are so interested in the stories of the fighters of a fighting game. It's like, oh, really? That's nice to.
Yeah. Darkstalkers is interesting, but you don't want Capcom to make anything right now. They're really under ideological attack.
Make your own.
They're making
dark.
creepy bullshit right now.
They got
Just make your own Darkstalkers if you.
These are just characters from JoJo's.
It's part 6. The one on the left is the dumbest of the Brando, which is Ungalo, and then.
But he has the best. He has the best of the stands.
Yeah, and that's the problem is that they gave it to the dumb one, because it's just It's like, hey, here's the most overpowered.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Okiatsu in the hand.
Fair point.
They always
So
get the
how did
strongest
this
one.
go?
They always get the strongest stands to the dumb ones. He has Bohemian Rhapsody. Literally the strongest stand in part
And
6.
then fucking.
I was about to say Indulink, yeah, well, fucking insanely strong though.
And then you have. Fuck, I forgot the name of the middle one.
I don't remember. I
He
just
does
know them
have
as the Brando children.
Underworld stand, and then this guy. Then there's just this guy, and then there's fucking Jordan.
God, I hate that guy.
Why? Why do you hate Giorno?
Look at him.
He's
Why he's
Italian.
better off than the cow
He's
guy.
Italian.
The weirdest Italian you've ever seen.
The dumbest one, literally. It's just fucking. He just gave up.
Okay. Anyway, I don't like this genre. It's bad by the standards of other genre. You're in the wrong neighborhood. I'm not sure what our argument was. Yeah, we're not too clear on that. Teenage girls, when the serial killer that murdered 27 people gets a fan cam with cutesy filters and Danganronpa characters, I don't think that would.
The serial killer doesn't need cutesy filter or Danganronpa characters. He will get all the fan mail and marriage proposals automatically.
School apologizes after 5th graders asked to make slave auction posters?
What? In 5th grade?
That's at least creative. I don't know if that's a good idea.
At 12?
Oh yes, waddle these slaves.
Grade?
Oh, that was an actual episode in the Kirby animes. DD's getting short on money, so he has to sell his Watto bees so he can repay the guy he's getting demons from. He gets so desperate in the anime.
So someone took the meme and went, what the hell is this meme? What are they wearing? It's JoJo's, don't worry about it. There's the same character that was mentioned previously.
Tomboy Queen.
Uploads the design. You should see the other women. They're a bit under. Their proportions are a little too much. Let's just say too big.
You're just intimidated.
By those design, yes, I am. Those are terrifying looking girls.
That is the point.
You can't be terrified.
Yes, you can. You could be terrified of women by their proportions.
You have terrified of thunderflies?
Yes. Have you seen black women?
Oh, those are not thunderflies. They're just fat.
Well,
okay, I think it's time that we move on.
It's kind
These are nutcrackers.
All right. What is? Oh my god. That is. I can't remember what anime that's from.
That's a Kenko Cross Cowgirl.
All right. All right, I'll watch that at my own time. I don't know what's going on. Babe, it's time for Isekai slavery. Equals bad post. Yes, honey. Yeah, the guy in the back. In the group shot left to right, King Arthur, Nightcrawler, Shadowcat, Widget, Captain Britain, Megan, and Rachel Summers. Okay, all right. Hawk and Wisp join Excalibur.
I don't know. What's the meme?
Why would you do that? BBC News? What the? I don't get it. The Middle East never had slaves like America. If they did, why isn't there a huge American population like there is in America? They castrated their slaves.
Yep. The ones that survived the journey through the desert, which were under 10%, which is way less than survived these ships to the Americas.
But there will be one additional condition. If you lose, you'll become my slave, my love slave. I surrender. That's Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Yeah. But Brondo's got what plants crave. It's got electro. Okay, yeah. There's the meme.
It's a great movie. You must watch it. It's also got a good... The president is actually not bad. He's a good president.
White women.
He does what his people want.
When the worst song you've ever heard in your life comes on. Is that no,
that's Sesame Street.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to remember the song in regards to this reference, but yeah, there's that wonderful blaxploitation.
Is that Black Dynamite?
Pingu.
Existentialist Pingu.
Yeah. What do we got here? Garnet. Pearl, you bitch. You fused with me without my consent. But Garnet, it's because I love being fused with you.
We needed a reason to fuse.
And it's set to banjo music.
And Garnet is 2 children.
All right, can't read that.
Never forget that.
Ma'am, you were there when slavery was in America, right? Why didn't the crystal gem stop slavery? Oh, they're that old?
They're the ones that caused the slavery, if anything. Because they also have slavery.
All right. Does not compute. What was the statement? My brain, when I try to read right to left, why I can't read Japanese comics, my brain is just... No, it's not hard. Just take your time. Okay. Phil Cho released some new designs for the Brotherhood of Mutants. What do you think of them all? Okay. I don't mind them. They look
Who's
okay.
the fat guy? Is his
Blob.
power being fat?
That's Blob.
No, it's Blob.
Yeah, that's
Blob?
just Blob.
It's Pyro. It's Rogue. They look good. Wisp. I'm a Pokemon. I'm American. I love my guns, but even I don't want a Pokemon game with guns.
I want it. I enjoy Power World. It's great. Play it.
I'm gonna
Okay,
tell you.
even without the gun, it's not about the guns. Nintendo could have made the game where the Pokemon are actually integrated into the world the way it's always been promised to us, where they do all these things that otherwise technology does. Which they also have the technology, but this is you only ever get to throw Pokemon at each other.
I still don't believe
It also doesn't have the issue that Scarlet and Violet and Shield and Sword have, where the Pokemon just pop into existence. Like the pals just exist in the world, and you can see them for a great distance as well.
All right, so here's a question about Steven Universe. I want to know how Steve's mom got impregnated by a human when she's a monogendered silicon-based life form whose species don't reproduce but rather grow out of the ground like orcs. So,
oh god,
I can answer that. I can answer. Rose Quartz is literally Steven.
Yes.
So, are they organic, but they're silicon-based? Does that?
They're organic in a.
She's essentially Rose is role playing as a little Jewish boy.
I thought
it's a double role play. Wisp, it's a dictator role playing as a war hero, role playing as a little boy.
Well, in case you guys don't know,
body of the body of the gem is just a projection of the actual gem, so it's basically just a solid hologram.
Just so you know, that the theory that you could have a silicon-based organic life form is false. It's not how silicon works. It would never.
Smart. These are very, very dumb people making this.
I know. Just explaining why water is the foundation of life is pretty obvious, but silicon is a linear molecule. It wouldn't bond very well with anything.
Yeah. And they don't get the excuse of, I got superpowers from radiation, at the time where radiation wasn't very well understood. You don't have these excuses today, especially not for this.
Anyway, that was not the worst video of this type we've ever seen.
No.
Definitely watchable.
Far from it.
She was on topic. She had some weird volume issues, but that's fine. But still, we could actually sit. She seems like a reasonable person. We could sit down and share our love of anime and why we can actually watch entire shows and read entire mangas and she can't. Okay, it gets better.
As soon as she gets rid of the Crunchyroll thing, then we can talk.
Oh yeah, you don't listen to Crunchyroll people.
Until then.
Okay.
Crunchyroll people are tourists.
Okay. Well,
my main thing is that she feels like she doesn't have enough experience under her belt to really talk or give you anything really meaningful to say about anime aside from the absolute surface level.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at those shows or the anime that she was embellishing on, or at least loved to talk about, which was the Here and Then, Now and Again, or whatever that war depicted anime was, which everyone else liked. It's like, well, yeah. You could argue because it's a film, it's more focused. Its narrative is very specific. The plot has to be tighter. But you like the slavery and war and that, but you couldn't appreciate it in a longer story, manga serialized or anime serialized. Why? Because it has sex?
Now and Then, Here and There was a series.
Oh, it was a series.
If they made a movie out of that, they would have cut out a lot.
Yeah, for sure. So, what's the difference? What was the big deal that she could stomach that in the 90s?
Probably because if she watched the OVA, if there was one, then more of the spicy stuff has been left out.
Ah, maybe.
This would be my guess, because I've never seen an OVA of Now and Then, Here and There. I've only seen the show.
Which is weird.
And the show goes into depth about a lot of things. It does a lot of show don't tell, which is probably why she didn't get the bloody thing.
All right.
Zarek? Was it you? I thought you wanted to say something.
No. I am going to have to leave after we close out, though.
All right. Well, we're done. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Keep the suggestions coming and the voting going. We got lots of more videos to cover. Just got to need the right day and time for everyone to join in. We could always extend Anime Day to like Wednesdays or whenever we're free to talk because there's so many videos to cover.
I mean, it's been a new year. We can make a new poll on when everybody has the best days.
That's a good idea. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, keep warm, keep suggestions coming, voting going, and all that jazz. We'll talk to you guys soon. Recommend some good manga and anime that have really adult, violent, crazy themes. Those are the best kinds of stories. I really like those stories. So don't be scared to read and watch, because these people clearly don't understand them, but you do. So don't be scared. Anyway, have a great night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye bye.